company for the 1995 Winfield Pro Series Grand Finals at Eastern Creek, held over several days in early November, with the finals being run on Sunday the 5th. The Grand Finals is the event where the 1995 championship in all the brackets are decided. So sit down, enjoy yourself as you watch the 1995 Winfield Pro Series Grand Finals, brought to you, of course, by RPS Promotions.
We pick up the action on Friday here at the Creek. Rochelle Splatt, of course, Australia's fastest lady, was in sensational form and set her fastest time ever.
Rochelle Splatt comes to the line now. Everything starts to shake and make the right noises. And the competition, Terry Sainty from Sydney, he burns out, lights him up. He's got a big job ahead of him to nail this young lady this time round.
Rochelle Splatt has been in absolutely fantastic form. She was top qualifier at the last round of the Winfield Series, and she would really like to do the job again this weekend.
Many say pretty as a button, cute, sweet, all of those accolades come in because that's the feminine side of Rochelle Splatt. But in a beast like this, it is a case of Beauty and the Beast. But I tell you what, she can drive, she can race.
She's as good as any in the world. She's proved it time and time again, and every one of these drivers know that when they're beside Rochelle Splatt, they've got a real race on their hands.
Moving up now, Terry Sainty will want to pull a good start off. Rochelle Splatt very quick off the line. Her reaction time has been sensational. Crowd riveted here, away they go. Oh, no contest. Terry Sainty left on the blocks, and Rochelle Splatt, the time just come up. It's the best ever. It's the best ever she's ever done. In fact, the best time outside the United States.
5.018. The car left like a bullet. Sainty on fire early with some sort of leakage, but Rochelle Splatt kept the boot in all the way down the track across the finish line. 5.018, the quickest female outside of the United States of America. That makes her the number 2 qualifier, so close to the 4s. The fireworks were really in evidence this weekend. Look at that, a big nitrous oxide explosion for Vic Elfs.
And one of my favourite people, Peter Allen on the Pennzoil bike. Watch this. Pete Allen on the line. This thing is a rocket ship. We've seen it under lights before sparking up.
This bike has run in the 6-second zone, reset the national record down to the 6.9s at Adelaide just 3 weeks ago. This is on a mission this weekend.
So is he. Look at the eyes. The visor just sitting up, letting some air in now. The head tucks down. Sounds the wildest thing, which it is on 2 wheels. Have a look at the rear tyre on this bike.
The Pennzoil bike can run up to nearly 200 mile an hour. Pretty bumpy. He's on a mission though. This is quick.
And look at Allan there as it starts to fire up. He's got a fire going. He's aware of it, I think. Yes, he looks down now, but he's still going at a rapid rate of knots. He's trying to get the thing out. Up goes the leg. He's trying to clear the fire and cut. What about this? Talk about hot footing it down the track.
This is just an unbelievable job. This guy has got ice water in his veins. He keeps it so cool. He's traveling at well over 300 kilometers an hour and still keeps control.
Just some of the action from Friday, but of course, part of the big action on Friday was the Top Fuel shootout, the win shootout. Graham Cowan, Jimmy Reed, Robin Kirby, Steve Reed, and then Darren DeFilippo, Rochelle Splatt, Tom Hoover.
Yes, the top 4 get to qualify into the Top Fuel shootout. This is still qualifying for Top Fuel, but these guys are racing for the big money from wins. There's $20,000 at stake this weekend, Daryl.
20 grand, Graham Cowan, Steve Reed come out to the line.
This should be a very, very good pairing. These guys have been the pace setters for most of the weekend. Graham Cowan, of course, in the Shell rocket ship, has already run in the 4s in the first day of qualifying.
Yeah, tremendous performance from Graham Cowan. Very, very focused. Steve Reed, though, some of the best times we've seen from him. And if anybody can be a dark horse, it's this bloke.
Well, Steve Reed was the first man to run a 4-second pass in New South Wales at Eastern Creek. And if he can repeat that performance here, well, I think Graham Cowan might have a real race on his hands.
So Cowan now comes back into position. These massive tyres, the huge rear tyres that you'll see just stand tall. They really distort. Once the power goes down, we're talking 5,000 horsepower out of these fantastic motors.
Well, there's Steve Reid, the concentration and the international map on his helmet. He believes that the international aspect is so important. He races Europe, America and Australia.
See the signal there for the crewman. Put the visor down. He says, OK, here we go. Should be a beauty. Graham Cowan, the yellow rocket. And then Steve Reid in the red, gold and white car. Set. Rev start to build. Away we go. Cowan gets it down. Steve Reid runs with him. Oh, look at Reid. Look at Reid. Oh, yeah. What about Reid? He just drove past Graham Cowan. Terrific stuff. 477.8 kilometres per hour. That's not hanging about.
That's a national record, Darrell. That is over the national record. The highest speed we've seen here for a long time.
Look at that. The lights went out for Cowan. He only went a few feet, doused it. But look at Reid with a beautiful run.
He's driven it all the way past the lights. You can still see the tyre marks going past the last of the witches' hats. That's an incredible pass from Reid.
All right, outside now, Jimmy Reid, Robin Kirby. Wow, the action set up now. We've seen the first of the upsets. We said that could happen. Jimmy Reid really wants to do so well here now. And he knows the pressure's on with a capital P. There's those tyres distorting on Kirby's car.
Well, Robin Kirby's known as the giant killer because if any of the, what you'd call the big name teams have a problem, Kirby's the one that'll pounce. He'll do the job on them.
Well, Steve Reid's done that already. Robin Kirby, Jimmy Reid now. Jimmy Reid so many times national champions, done so much for the sport, helped a lot of the people that he now races. Robin Kirby, though, loved to knock him off. There he is, the veteran. Well, look at the arm action. Look, everything's so positive with Jimmy, isn't it?
He wants to get in there. He wants to bite at that $10,000 winner's check. The loser of this race gets $2,500 from wins, but we know Jim. He always likes the big payday.
Yes, says, come on, get me up on the line, get me set up. I'm raring to go. And when he's raring to go, Jim, anything can happen. Two beautifully turned out motor cars. Here we go. Final staging set now, only seconds away. And away they go. Jimmy Reid puts it down. Oh, that's why he wanted to go in early. He said, give me the hammer. I'm in the mood to win. And did he what? There's the time, 4:51.97.
That's another good pass, and that gives him lane choice. He's just 0.04 of a second quicker than Steve Reid. We're going to have Reid versus Reid into the final of the wins shootout.
A ripper. Watch this. Jimmy Reid lights it up. Look at the reaction time. Just put the power down. He wanted to go in there early. Robin Kirby, no chance.
Look at the tyre distortion on that car. It is right up on those big Goodyears, and that is just about a picture-perfect pass from the Winfield car.
When Jimmy Reid gets in the mood, anything can happen. Those eyes focus, and so does the whole intention. He's a real hands-on racer.
There's no doubt about it. You seem to hold a motor racing meeting somewhere in Australia and it rains, and that's what happened on Friday at the Creek. Rains came down, the track just too slippery, too dangerous to race, so the win shootout final had to be held over till Saturday morning. Out they came, the two quickest to face off for the final. Pommy Steve Reid, he was pumped up, raring to go, and the man that really has made the sport in this country without any doubt at all, and that, of course, is Jim Reid.
And there he is, rocking and rolling in the cockpit, making sure that he's nice and tight. Jimmy Reid, he's focused, he's ready to go, and he takes on another Reid, Pommy Steve Reid.
This is the battle we've been talking about, Reid versus Reid, and both of these cars have got the potential to run into the fours. We see there the fluid-filled gauge just handling the vibration of these 5,000 horsepower missiles.
Yeah, Steve Reid put a terrific performance up as we've tried to get racing in between the rain squalls, and look at them line them up. That brings the crowd back, I'll tell you. Oh, they can smell it where they are, and so can we from where we sit, which is way away from that area there. But you can see the clouds have been hanging around. It has been a patchy old time to get some racing done.
Well, these guys were strapped in the car and ready to run last night when the report came it was actually raining in the braking area and it had to be all shut down. They've had a nervous overnight wait, and Darrell, this is when it comes to the money run. $10,000 for the winner, $5,000 for the runner-up, all from wins, and it's been a fantastic feature of qualifying all throughout the Winfield Pro Series.
As you can see now, cars just coming in, final stage being set here for a start. Jimmy Reid, the red car, and you'll see the white, red and gold car, and that's Pommy Steve Reid.
Yes, Pommy Steve driving for Santo Rapisada and the Kendall Oil Santo Cranes team. Look at the concentration, the crews, the drivers. It's very, very intense down there on that start line.
Jimmy's been sitting there for a while.
Bruce Reid was having a look.
And away they go, and look at that, the Pommy! What about the Pommy, Steve Reid? He just says, mine today, Jimmy, you're gone. There's the time, 4:80.14, and Jimmy Reid has been sunk.
4:80.14, that's the quickest speed ever in Australia. Look at the replay, red light. That's what happened to Reid. He wanted to go in early, he's left too soon, red light had shut it off, but Pommy Steve Reid has driven away with that. 480 kilometres an hour is 298 mile an hour.
Rob, amazing scenes here at Eastern Creek. What about that? Now watch from behind. Look at the rubber he leaves and watch him drift over to that centre line. There it is there. Unreal stuff. Corey Wingard is down at the finish area.
Yeah, well, 298.
Congratulations.
298. Well done.
I just pressing Steve on now.
Jim, a bit excited there at the finish. What happened at the start?
Oh, I was under the impression the other car was taking a bit long to stage, but apparently had a fuel leak. So,
pretty good time, 298.
I
didn't catch that.
No, I just heard he did 298. Excellent. At least he's got top speed. He's got 100 points that he saved somebody else getting for me.
You think you can catch him now, 298? Can you perhaps go 300 in the final? What do you think?
Oh, you never know. There's 3 more laps to go yet. 3 more laps.
Now it's time to hand over to Rob Oberg and Nathan Prendergast for the next round of racing.
Super Sedan Eliminator, the first of our Group 3 categories for Dial Your Own Racing. All of these cars qualifying 10.99 seconds or quicker. Colin McDonald in the NRA May car on screen.
Yes, first up in Super Sedan, a battle of the Escorts. Brett Rumble on screen in the Escort panel van. Both of these cars powered by small block Chevs.
Rumble dials in at a 9.68 second. He's giving away a handicap. It's a big handicap start of almost 1.2 seconds to Cole McDonald. Rumble looks to have a problem.
Yes, very slow off the start line. McDonald charges away. There's no chance for Rumble to even look like catching him from here. McDonald backs the car off and coasts through for the win.
An easy 11.76 at just 92.57 mile an hour. Super Sedan continues.
The very strong RX3 on screen now for the C&V performance car. This is a small block Chev with a whole lot of nitrous oxide.
Yes, it's pushed him to a very good qualifying time. He's dialed in at 8.60 seconds, gives away 1.3 seconds. There's the handicap start. Shane Corr miles out in front. Can Vic Elves catch him? Boy, that's a chase and a half.
That is a big chase. A little bit of smoke from the left-hand side of the car, and he's unable to do it. Shane Corr gets the win on a 10.94.
An 8.92 for Vic Elves there was just not up to the job. Super Sedan Eliminator continues with David Goldie from Queensland, the first of the interstaters we've seen, the Pacific Performance Kingswood, and he'll be running up against Dean McLennan, another Queenslander.
Yes, McLennan dialed in with a 9.58 at 10.85 for Goldie, so a fair bit of a handicap on the start line between these two competitors.
And of course, David Goldie, we saw at the grand finals last year destroy a Capri Super Gasser in dramatic style. He's back, he's on track, running in Super Sedan.
Doing a fair bit better as well. He's out in front of McLennan and gets the win quite easily. David Goldie, an 11.07 at 105 miles an hour for the win.
Brett Thomas there from Marayong up against Jim Demirov. Demirov in the Calais. The Tirana, he'll be out there getting the handicap start. 10.75 is his dial in, Demirov. Have a look at it.
10.85 is his dial in. Little bit of a handicap off the start line, not too much affected there though. Can the Calais chase down the Tirana? It's pretty close from here. The Tirana just in front, but Demirov gets there first. A 10.87 for the win, 126 miles an hour.
Oh, just 1/100th of a second, the winning margin, so a very, very close race there. Terry Aglin now, he's in the yellow Camaro we saw burning out, up against Brett Whitehall from Victoria.
Brett Whitehall, 308 cubes of Holden in the front of that Tirana. We've got a supercharged big block in the Camaro. Starts to chase hard now. He's really come to terms with the tune-up on this vehicle and has pushed it to some very low ET. Can he come around him?
Oh, Kenny Watt, 8.650 on a dial-in of 8.650. The perfect pass for Terry Aglin.
Fantastic stuff. Tony ROMEO on screen now in the Capri. He's up against Paul Foley in the Anglia.
Well, the 1948 Anglia, the Hombre, one of the oldest bodied cars racing in Australia, I'd suggest, but it's an oldie but a goodie. Not this time for Paul, though. A red light, automatic win to Tony ROMEO.
ROMEO should take the advantage of driving the car through the back door to see what it can run.
ROMEO stops the clocks with a good 10.848, 122.55 mile an hour.
Pac-Man, otherwise known as George Raham, on screen now in his RX3. He's up against a very tough competitor, though, Rob.
Yes, Jason Grimmer in this Jaguar. Big block Chevy V8 under the bonnet. It's going to take on the Rotary.
Yes, the Jaguar capable of running into the mid 9-second zone.
Looks
He's
like
got a solo pass, though.
Certainly has. The Pac-Man car pushed back again. Jason Grimmer looks like he's going to really stretch this one out. Across the line, 9.53. His dial-in was a 9.55. He's lucky there was no one in the other lane this time.
All the way from Albany in Western Australia, Graham Kennedy in this very, very well presented Ford Capri.
Kennedy's chasing the Australian Super Sedan Championship. He's one of the contenders. He's got a lot of points up his sleeve already, and it's going to be a battle amongst about 3 or 4 to see who will get the number 1 for 1995.
He's up against Darren Townsend from Nowra on the south coast. Darren is in the small block powered Tirana.
Only 300ths of a second handicap start in this race. They come out pretty well together.
Certainly do. The Capri's got a fair bit of chasing to do. The Tirana still with a nose in front, but here comes Kennedy. Already has come around him and gets the win with a 10.23 at 123 miles an hour.
So his championship chase is on the way. Dennis Moreau now from New South Wales with his Chevy-powered Alpha.
Des Kernow puts on a strong performance in the Blackjack Commodore in beside him. Very, very quick car. Got one of the largest bonnet scoops I think I've ever seen.
This should be a fairly good race. There's 0.4 of a second handicap in it. The Alpha out in front. Here comes Kernow now, and it is going to be a tight finish. Look at him charge.
The Alpha looks like he's in front and just gets there first. Runs it through with a 10.53, 114 mile an hour. Had a chance to back off.
Just 100th of a second was the winning margin. They're getting pretty tight. The Interstaters are in force here at Eastern Creek for the grand finals. We've got Robert Maggs in the Monaro we just saw from Victoria, and now David Foreman in the Tirana from Queensland.
Foreman, a very tough competitor from Brisbane, 350 small block in the Tirana. Gets out with the front wheels dancing. Mag pulls them both off the deck.
Maggs has left a red light on the tree though. Left too soon. Automatic win to Foreman. Maggs in front, but it doesn't count for anything.
Dave Foreman runs a 10.52 for the win, 128 miles per hour.
Pair of Sydney cars now. Peter Priestley in the utility, and what a popular car this is.
Certainly is the Dog 308, famous for some wheel stands in first, second and third gear. He's up against Dean Sweeney, the street registered and driven big block powered Capri.
Sweeney does a lot of racing here at Eastern Creek, just about every event. Priestley moving it through the 4-speed. Here comes Sweeney. This should be another good close finish.
Sweeney coming on strong with a mile an hour and gets there with a 10.17, 127 mile an hour. Not bad for no nitros.
Well, these guys all running close to their dial-in so far. Ian Nielsen down from Queensland, chasing the Australian Drag Racing Series. He's dialed in at 9.88 seconds. Gives away a big handicap start to Tony Keane. There it is.
Keane pulls the front wheels off the ground. The Cortina's out in front. The Tirana's got a big chase on his hands. Can he do it? Nielsen very quick up top.
Red light there on by 0.02 of a second on the tree for Keane. Nielsen gets the win. 0.02, that's a bit stiff.
Oh, that's very tough indeed. We continue now with another Queensland competitor.
Kevin Magner, running from Lismore. Comes down as part of the Queensland team. Actually lives just in the Northern Rivers, but of course the ANDRA divisions work on the closest track style deal.
Charlie MICALI in beside him in the Torco Racing Oils 57 Chevrolet.
Fair sort of handicap in this one, over a full second. MICALI a little bit wild and woolly off the start line. Magner's got it under control. Has he?
57 gets there with the big Torco performance, 9.79 at 130 miles an hour.
Just 300ths of a second across the finish line. These super sedan races are really turning on some close finishes.
Fantastic burnout from the Tirana.
John Andriopoulos, one of the New South Walesmen, making plenty of smoke on the start line. He's up against Graham Cooper, one of the championship favourites. He's won the Australia #1, what, 2 or 3 times already in the bricklayer. Oh,
he's a tough customer, Cooper. Not one you would like to meet in the first round of any eliminator. Cooper's out in front. He's going to stay that way. 10.67 at 120 miles an hour.
Good reaction times again from Cooper. That's what it did it for him. Mick Dalton now from Frankston in Victoria. The 340 Chrysler-powered Charger. He's dialed in at in the 10s, and no problem for him because he's on a bye run. He's got the solo to close out the first round of Super Sedan.
Oh, this will be a fantastic break for him. He's already made it through to the next round of racing. He'll drive the car hard, though, to test that dial-in. Car running absolutely perfectly, nice and straight, and stops the clocks at an 11.01, 122 miles an hour.
And what a round for Super Sedan that was. Some fantastic racing there. Still with a dial your own handicap style of racing, we move into round 1 of Modified Eliminator. Dragsters, Altereds, hot rods and the occasional funny car.
Exciting class of racing it is, all the way from Queensland. Rob McKitterick up against Darren Hope, the New South Wales boy, on screen now.
Modified Eliminator always provides some fast racing. A 9.07 dial-in for McKitterick. He's giving away almost 1.4 seconds. This should be a big chase again.
Yeah, Hope dialed in with a 10.40. He'll get to lead first by a long way. It's going to be quite an anxious wait for McKitterick on the start line. Gets away with a clean green, though. A 4.9 reaction time is a whole shot over Hope.
Not too much in it, though. Was pretty close on the start line. Look at the finish line. It's McKitterick, a 9.131. He won it by 0.003 of a second.
Well, you called it as fantastic close racing in Modified Eliminator, Rob. We continue with Gary McKelvey up against Anthony Selva, a battle of the dragsters.
Yes, New South Wales versus Victoria. McKelvey, the local Sydney racer, plenty of experience. He's getting a 1/10 of a second handicap start from Selva.
Not a great deal separating these two on the start line. McKelvey gets out strongly. Selva with some problems on the start line.
Well, McKelvey will get a cruise in the end, runs a 9.40, 142 mile an hour, and he moves to the next round of Modified Eliminator.
Another man who's going to have quite a cruise in this round of eliminations is Mick Borg. Mick's got the solo pass.
Yeah, his opponent unable to fire, hasn't fronted for the first round, so he will get to go on a single. His dial-in's a 9.35, so as a smart and experienced racer, he'll see just how quick his car can go compared to that dial-in, so he can make a judgment for the next round.
He runs a 9.48, so he's not too far off that dial-in, 142 miles an hour, and I'd say 142 mile an hour in a car that size would be quite exciting.
Yes, the little front-engine six-cylinder dragster, always wild to drive. Now we've got Tony D'Agostino from New South Wales up against Reg Vesperman in the dragster.
Vesperman in the 351 Cleveland powered dragster. He gets away with a red light and hands the automatic win to D'Agostino.
Yes, Vesperman way early there. He left over 2/10 before the green was scheduled to come on. Gets the foul light. D'Agostino runs a 10.23 at just 115 mile an hour. He was comfortable. He saw the red.
One of the real hard charges in Modified Eliminator, Alan White up against Gordon Carlson. Carlson in the WTF Racing Altered.
Carlson got quite a fan club with his car since he got it going, and plenty of people come here to Eastern Creek to support him. Alan White, as you say, one of the hard runners in Modified Eliminator. Former winner of the Australian Nationals. He'd like to add the grand finals to his resume if he can.
Running on a 9.50 dial-in, runs 9.66 for the win, 132 miles an hour.
Well, one of the favourite cars here in New South Wales for the nostalgia style deal is Norm McCormack's little front engine car, but Mark Mitchell, he's got the latest of everything from Victoria, one of the championship contenders in the street and strip car.
8.98 is his dial, and that gives a huge handicap advantage to the front engine car. Well, the car that had the advantage has got some problems. Mark Mitchell, a 4-4 light was fantastic from him, and he gets quite an easy win on a 9.27, backing off to only 140 miles an hour.
Well, Mark Mitchell is one of the championship contenders, and so is this man, John Sting. He's been almost unbeatable in modified eliminator in Queensland this year, all the way from St George in the west of Queensland, up against Chris Bradley.
Yeah, Bradley, a local boy from Emu Plains in New South Wales, a relative rookie to the sport of drag racing, and actually his debut at the 93 Grand Finals made it all the way to the final, only to be runner-up.
Well, Bradley, a good 0.41 second reaction time there, but the car looked a little bit unsettled off the start line. Here comes John Sting. I don't know. Yes! Breakout, would you believe? Just a breakout by 0.02 of a second for Bradley. Across the line first, but ran under his dial-in.
Sting got the win on an 8.31. Peter Byrne now up against Joe Kurtovic.
And Peter Byrne would be one of the favourites for this. He has been very, very strong in modified eliminator. Look at the fuel from these SU carburetors.
179 Holden 6-cylinder straight motor in the front of this car, up against 454 cubic inches of big block Chev.
Over 2 seconds handicap on the start line. The little dragster to get the lead. Now the lights come down for Peter Byrne, and he cuts a good 4.9. But Kurtovic was better with a 4.10.
Here comes the Bantam-bodied Altered, though. Drives around him at the top end of the racetrack with an 8.69 at 143 miles an hour.
Modified eliminator continuing now with John Ward burning out across the start line, as is David Lloyd in the little motorcycle-powered rear-engine dragster.
80 cubic inches of Suzuki in the back of this bike. Very, very, very quick car. John Ward with one of the largest wings I think you'll find on any Altered.
And interestingly here we've got the big V8 powered Altered getting a second handicap start from the bike powered dragster that's got an incredible power to weight ratio.
A 4.6 reaction time for John Ward. That's nearly a tenth and a half better than David. And John Ward actually holds him out for the win. 10.24 at 121 miles an hour.
Russell Redding now burns out across the start line in his Fiat Topolino. He'll be running up against John Copping, a 2-litre Gemini, 4-cylinder powered dragster. We don't see too many of those out on the drag strips, but he's dialed in at 10.50 seconds, gets 1.5 seconds handicap start.
Plenty of performance from the Crazy Horsepower team. Do they have the crazy horsepower required to come around John Copping? Copping's a fair way out in front. Here comes Renning. Can he do it? I don't think so. It's a breakout from John Copping.
0.07 of a second too quick.
Very unlucky for Copping, and Redding gets the win on a 9.31, 142 miles per hour.
Queenslander down chasing modified glory is Glenn Gregson. He's in the Fraser Island Holiday House sponsored Altered on this side of the track. Over there we're seeing Peter Wilson.
Peter Wilson in the New South Wales car, 377 cubes of small block Chev motivating the Altered. Both of them moving into stage.
Over 1 second handicap start going to Gregson, and it looks like he made the most of it. He is trying to hang out there. Wilson putting pressure on him. Wilson in front and breaks out by 23 thousandths of a second. Gives a win to Glenn Gregson on a 10.13 double breakout.
Boy, things are tough in modified eliminator as we continue with Dennis Gatt in that beautiful car on screen.
Dennis Gatt will be taking on Greg Smith as two of the New South Welshmen go head-to-head. One of these Fiat Topolino-bodied cars, but this one's had a few little chops and changes.
And a little bit of length added to the front of the chassis there, I can see as well. Smith gets out with a red light.
Red lights with a 0.376 reaction time. 0.40 is how long it takes for the green to come on. He was too soon. Gatt gets the win. Runs an 8.87 on an 8.60, so that's nice and safe and into the next round of racing.
Joe Zulo on screen now, another one of these front-engine 6-cylinder powered cars, a very, very popular item in Sydney.
Up against Ernest Gimson, rear-engine dragster, the more classical style of that's so popular today. The front engine, of course, the slingshot from days gone by.
Gimson dialed in with an 8.70. He's giving away a very substantial handicap of nearly 2 seconds to Zulo.
Zula with a 0.6 reaction time. Oh, Gimson leaves way early. 0.22, big red light for him. Zula, I thought, was in trouble late on the lights, but he's got away with it. Gets the win with a 10.85 at 118 miles an hour.
Gimson put under a little bit too much pressure there.
Sean Brown now burns out across the start line here at Eastern Creek for the grand finals.
He's up against another front engine car, this one with a little bit of a twist. It's got a V8 small block in it.
More slingshots in the state of New South Wales than anywhere else in Australia, I'd suggest, in modified eliminator.
Jim Holly from Fairfield West is the driver of the V8-powered front-engine car. Sean Brown in beside him.
Almost a second handicap start again. Brown will get the lead on this side of the track, and another red light. This time it's for Holly. He couldn't wait either.
Yeah, Jim Holly a long way too soon, a 0.258. He'll get there first, but the win goes to Brown with a 10.16 at 126 miles per hour.
Well, one of the big hopes for the Queenslanders is Russell Schaefer in the front engine dragster. In beside him is Peter Merrigan from Victoria in the Chevy T-Bucket. This car is Schaefer's a Windsor V8, and of course the small block Chevy for Merrigan.
Merrigan's car formerly owned by the GATT family.
Schaefer gets out with a 488 light. Merrigan with a 0.526 is under pressure. Schaefer's already looking over his shoulder. There's confidence across the line first. A 978 on a dial-in of 976. He's close.
Very, very close. 127 mile an hour is a good speed for him as well. Bob Millett now on screen. Another Queenslander boy. They've come from all over the country for this race.
Well, Bob Millett's the sort of guy that can challenge for the championship as well. He's got enough points up his sleeve. There's a number of races that could become modified #1 at the end of the grand finals this weekend.
He's up against Ron Payne. Ron Payne from Muswellbrook in New South Wales.
Oh, Millett with a better reaction time. The T-Bucket starting to charge. Payne is in trouble. Bobby Millett with a pretty easy one, as it turns out, a 910. He cruises through for the win. That closes the first round of modified eliminator. Super Gas Eliminator, ANDRA Championship Drag Racing's only Group 4 category. It runs on fixed dial-ins. All the cars on a .990 dial-in. You run quicker than that, you break out. But a pro start, that makes the start line a lot more interesting.
It certainly does, and boy, we see some fantastic cars in this bracket. Rob Azzopardi in the RX-7 up against Rob Beauchamp. Beauchamp was #2 qualifier. A pair of clean greens, a 4-2 for Azzopardi. That's a whole shot over Beauchamp.
Beauchamp in front now. He's got his nose in front. Azzopardi right there, and Beauchamp breaks out just couple of hundredths of a second. Azzopardi gets the win.
9.92 for the win there. That's getting where you need to be. Colin Griffin, and Brendan Fuller, a pair of Victorians.
And of course, Super Gas Eliminator in Australia was born and bred in Melbourne. Griffin and Fuller, they go at it tooth and nail down there at Calder. Here at Eastern Creek, they're chasing the championship.
Pro start, one flash and they're gone, and it's a pair of 4.5s on both sides of the racetrack. We've got problems in the far lane.
Griffin out in front, Fuller trying to come back at him. Griffin will get there a 9.94, 132 mile an hour. He moves into the next round as Super Gas Eliminator.
Just for a little bit of a twist here, we've got Craig Geddes from Victoria up against Bruce Forsyth. Forsyth is in a street-registered and driven vehicle from New South Wales, and he's running on a 990 index or Super Gas.
Well, this should be an interesting deal. Craig Geddes is one of the hot shots in Super Gas Eliminator, that's for sure. Forsyth's decided, well, Super Sedan's fun, but let's have a go at Super Gas. A 503 light leaves him a little behind, but look at this, door-to-door with Geddes.
This is a fantastic race. I think it's going to come down to reaction times. Geddes just gets there first. A 10.07 beats a 10.06.
Oh, how close is that? Ian Fitzgerald now, former Victorian, now living in Brisbane. He's got the head sense Tirana.
He's up against James Saragas, another one of the Sydney street-registered cars. Very, very quick Cortina. Runs with the assistance of some nitrous oxide to power that Cleveland down the racetrack.
Well, Fitzgerald, he's starting to edge forward. Got a lot more experience in Super Gas than Saragas, but does it count for anything? Look at the wheel stand from the Cortina. A little bit late on the lights, and it looks like the Tirana's got the upper hand.
Certainly does. The Tirana's definitely out in front and gets there first. 10.23 for the win, 114 miles an hour.
Super Gas Eliminator, always so competitive. Hugo DG and Vincenzo from Victoria. Big block Chevy-powered Commodore up against Gary the Tyre Turner Turney.
One of the absolute crowd favourites is Gary Turney, and it's quite obvious when you see his large burnouts. Big block Chev in this Holden 1-tonner and runs some very, very quick 9-second passes.
Well, Hugo's been running Super Gas since the very start. He goes into stage. Look at this, getting pointed in. The stopwatch is on. Gary Turney's trying to play a game, I think. Edging forward, we can see the starter looking at the watch saying, get in, you're running out of time. Hugo Di Vincenzo sits there waiting. The starter's looking at it. I think a stage problem for Turney, shaking his head. He's saying, get in there. That's the starter's message. 20 seconds you have from the time your opponent's in, all over. Red light, Turney didn't do it in time.
Yeah, I think Turney had troubles with the car. There looks as though he couldn't get forward or reverse, and Hugo's going to power through for the win. 10-1-3 at 120 miles an hour for the win.
Well, plenty of action in Super Gas Eliminator, and it continues on the start line. More smoky burnouts. Victoria versus Queensland. Sam Strano in the white Tirana up against Warren Sipter from the Gold Coast in the big block Chevy-powered Commodore.
Both cars are in a stage and a pair of clean greens. A wheel stand from the Tirana. Strano out in front, and it's going to be quite an easy win for him.
Look at the Commodore, the speed right on the line. Strano gets it by 1/1000th of a second.
I tell you what, that was a close race. I wouldn't have called it as being so close. Margaret Hartier-Law now in the Capri.
She's up against Des Wollstonecroft in this 454 Chevy-powered late model Commodore.
Margaret normally does the driving duties in this car. Lee actually stepping in today. A husband and wife team, this one.
Yes, Margaret with a new roadster coming for the future, and Lee back in the Capri. He's got a problem, 0.2 of a second late on the lights. Des Wollstonecroft, he'll say thanks very much. Off the go pedal, make sure he doesn't break out. A 10.80, the easiest win in the first round of Super Gas so far.
And that is a beautiful car. Mark Rajecki and Wayne Keys now. Keys all the way from Cloverdale in Western Australia.
Well, once again, it's the Australian Championship at stake. These guys race in the qualifying rounds all around Australia. The Australian Drag Racing Series is contested right across the country. All comes down to the grand finals at Eastern Creek. If you want to be the champion, you've got to be here.
Both cars into stage, a fair bit of smoke from the Tirana.
Look at them come out. Cretchy way out in front. The Tirana starting to come back at him, but it's a New South Welshman. He's got the win, a 9.909. That's a good ET on a 990. Paul Beauchamp now, he was the #1 qualifier, and he enjoys his solo because there was an uneven number of competitors in the first round of Super Gas.
Certainly is a beautifully presented car. This is what I was speaking of earlier on Super Gas. A lot of presentation and a lot of variance in the type of cars we see.
Yes, the Ford Roadster, look at it, the hot rod style car running from bumper to bumper, just hikes the front left-hand wheel. Looks like he's going to check it out. Can he run under that 990 index? It won't matter, he's on a solo. 9.84, 128 mile an hour to close out that round of Super Gas. Modified Bike Eliminator, round 2. Gay Jackson, the little Sydney sider, on the Harley-Davidson.
And what a beautiful Harley-Davidson it is too. Fantastic turnout from Gay in the pink and black. She's up against Alan Bleasner. Bleasner, a very, very strong competitor, dialed in with an 883.
Running for Team Army, the #1 qualifier in Modified Bike Eliminator. Big handicap start here, 1.5 seconds. Here comes Bleasner.
A 4-1 light on fire for Bleasner. That's going to help him with this chase. And he's already caught Gate. Comes around and gets the win on a 9.52 at 123 miles an hour.
Well, Modified Bike Eliminator, the two-wheel die-your-own category. And still they come at us. Vicky Coonan down from Queensland, running her Suzuki.
Up against Fred Cameron. Cameron dialed in with 11.20. Coonan dialed in with a 9.80. 1.4
seconds handicap start. The lady is going to give away. That's the way it works. Cameron will be out in front. She's got to try and catch him from behind.
Both bikes in the straight as the tree comes down. Pair of clean greens on both sides of the racetrack, but very slow reaction times. A 6.4 to a 7.2.
Here comes Kernan. The lady goes around him across the line too quick. Breaks out. 9.73. She runs the win to Cameron with an 11.460.
Trevor Sage and Andrew Stannard now.
Sage, one of the Queensland hot shots. He's dialed in at 10.20. He's going to give away 1.5 seconds to Stannard, one of the fellow banana benders.
Both Queensland competitors, bit of a wheels-up launch there.
1.5 seconds is a big handicap start in drag racing.
Fantastic pictures off the visor of the helmet there. A 4.3 to a 5.2 light. The advantage going to Trevor Sage.
Well, Stannard out in front, but Sage is really starting to put the pressure on. Rides right around him, looks over his shoulder and says that'll do. A 10.25 on a 10.20 dial in. He's into round 3 of modified bike.
Stephen Hooker and Jim Mearns now.
Jim all the way down from central Queensland. Really enjoys his modified bike racing. And of course, Steve Hooker at every Eastern Creek Raceway meeting.
Steve often campaigns 2 motorcycles, one in competition bike, the other in modified. Obviously on his modified bike at this point in time.
He's getting 0.69 of a second handicap start. Mearns will be the one to do the chasing this time.
Great 4.1 light from Hooker.
Yeah, Jim Mearns at 5.6. He's in trouble, I think. He's got plenty of speed coming on strong. Hooker still in front. Oh, Hooker just not too much in it. Mearns broke out by 46 thousandths in the chase. Hooker across the line first anyway.
Jason Lee up against Andrew Ladilli. Ladilli on screen now. Very, very quick street-style motorcycle, but a beautiful Kawasaki Ninja on screen now.
Well, Jason Lee all the way from South Australia, so they've come from all over Australia for this one.
Lee dialed in with a 9.20 up against a 10.32 for Ladilli.
Ladilli, one of the strong competitors from Willowbank Raceway. And boy, the Queensland have sent out a big team for this, the grand finals at Eastern Creek.
Certainly have, especially in modified bike eliminator. A 7.80, but a red light for Ladilli. Leaves too soon by 3 thousandths of a second.
Well, Jason Lee with an easy win there, a 9.35.
George Demopoulos and Jeff Tatum now. Demopoulos, a 9.80 dial in up against an 11.08. A big difference between these two motorcycles.
Oh, there's not wrong there. Jeff Tatum all the way from Bundaberg in Queensland. So another one that's done a few miles to be here.
Clean pair of greens this time, a 5.1 up against a 4.4.
Demopoulos is really charging. He's got Tatum already. Look at him on the brakes. He doesn't want to break out. A 9.92 to close out that round of modified bike eliminator. We're in round 2 of Super Street Eliminator at the 1995 Grand Finals. Super Street for cars qualifying between 11.0 and 12.99 seconds. This is one of them, Ray Ross from the Gold Coast in Queensland.
Yes, another one of the Queensland competitors. He's in beside Gary Stellino from Liverpool in New South Wales. The little Windsor-powered XP utility, quite a tough piece.
One of the popular cars here with the fans, that's for sure. Super Street Eliminator, very street-appearing cars, quite a lot of them. Raymond Ross gives away the handicap start and gives away the start line advantage. He was a little bit slower on the reaction time.
Yes, a great 4.2 light for Stellino should carry him through to a win, and it does. 11.44. A breakout from Ross, a little bit too quick with an 11.19 on an 11.32.
Darren Moody now smokes him up in his 308 powered Tirana, and the number plate says it all for him. Yes, 308.
He's up against this wild little Mazda estate wagon of Graham Pryor. Rotary powered, turbocharged, fuel injected, intercooled. It's got the lot, and it is a animal off the start line.
Giving away 1.7 second start to the V8 Tirana, and away goes the Mazda. Look at it, first and second gear all over the racetrack with a red light though. He's wasted it.
Oh, Pryor, after all that showmanship, goes out in the second round of Super Street. The win goes to Darren Moody with a 12.83.
Well, Super Street continues, and you can run anything with doors in Super Street if it qualifies in the bracket. Here's one of them, Danny Stadelmeyer with his V8 powered Mini. Calls it the Flying Brick.
Up against Gary Riley, a very regular competitor here at Eastern Creek, and his Windsor powered Capri.
Stadelmeyer to do the chasing. There's 0.25 of a second handicap in this Super Street race.
11.35's the dial in for Riley. He gets to lead first. The little Mini's got to chase him down. I don't think he can do it.
Oh, he's pretty close, right on the line, missed it. Riley gets the win by 31 thousandths of a second. There wasn't too much in that one.
Beautiful Capri on screen now. David Simpson all the way from Bathurst.
And he's up against Ralph Perry in his Chevy-powered Monaro.
Good thing about Super Street Eliminator, you can have street registered and driven cars, and Simpson is a fine example of that. Cleveland powered Capri, and he drives it all the way from Bathurst to make the race here at Eastern Creek.
Well, Ralph Perry's going to be trying to keep him honest, that's for sure. Perry getting the start this time over 0.76 of a second.
Simpson, one of the top qualifiers in Super Street. 11.04 is what he dialed in at, and he throws it all the way on the start line with a big red light. 3.51, would you believe he's got a 3.51 in the car?
Well, too soon, too early, red light. That means a win for Ralph Perry, and 11.93, 110.84 miles an hour in the Monaro.
Next pair of competitors, Christopher Hillman and Colin MOREAU. Chris Hillman in this beautiful VR utility, featured quite strongly at the Summer Nationals.
Well, Colin MOREAU does a big, long, smoky burnout in the 440 powered Chrysler, but yes, I've got to say, this car of Chris Hillman's, have a look at it. Built from brand new as a Super Street drag race vehicle, and Hillman, what a beautiful car it is.
A heads-up start that time, both cars dialing in with an 11.20. The advantage on the start line went to MOREAU.
Hillman will get the win, though. He runs quicker, an 11.26 at 112 mile an hour. MOREAU was back with 11.4, too far from his dial-in.
The Bear, John Somerash, at his first ever race meeting.
And he'll be up against Con Alexopoulos. Con driving the Chevy-powered Mitsubishi, would you believe?
A little Windsor in the Cortina, and what a beautiful car it is too. The rookie in the second round of Super Street at the Grand Finals.
Gives away 0.74 of a second, but I'd say that Alexopoulos has got a problem. The Mitsubishi going nowhere. Bit like the one-eyed sailor at the moment, and look at the Bear. Somerash cruises through for the win, and 11.15 at 104 mile an hour.
Warwick Curry and Tony Savage. Curry in the Escort. It's a fuel-injected Windsor under the bonnet.
Tony Savage, pretty savage on his tyres in that burnout, really smoking him up. 460 cubic inches of big block Ford in the Falcon, and he likes to use every one of those cubic inches.
Yeah, he's giving away the handicap start. 11.10, races 11.30. The Escort to leave first.
That's the way it'll come down. Not much in it. There it is, the start. Oh, Curry's done the better. The reaction times by far. Savage with a big chase. I don't think he can do it.
No, I don't think he can do it at all. Curry's a fair way out in front. Actually has time to jump on the brakes and cruises to an 11.61 at only 95 miles an hour, washing off a fair bit of speed there.
Well, Super Street #1 is on the windscreen for this man. It's Juan Kudnik from Queensland. He is the defending champion, has been all over Australia securing points, and I tell you what, he's going to be tough to beat this weekend. Leon McHugh will have a go at it. Let's see how he goes in this round.
Yeah, Leon's got a rather unusual combination. It's a 6-cylinder with a turbocharger on the side of it, but he is up against the #1, Kudnik, a 4.3 light. That's half the reason why he is Australia's #1. Leon really needs to improve on that 8.1 light.
And a big win there for Juan Kudnik. At 11.42, he had time to back off to just 105 mile an hour.
Another one of the real hard charges in Super Street Eliminator, Jeff Hislop in the 461 cubic inch Pontiac.
And a 445 Chrysler-powered Valiant is the ride for Allan Hutchinson all the way from Victoria. Boy, the battle of the big blocks.
Hutchinson to give away the start, 11.09 for him. 11.40 is the dial-in for Hislop. Huge pair of cars on the start line.
The heavyweights get out, and red light for the Victorian. Hutchinson left too soon by Well, 55 thousandths of a second. Hislop will get an easy win here. He'll push it, I'd say, 11.42 on his dial-in of 11.40. Hislop knows he's on the money as far as the dial-in's concerned.
Peter Hatchigiorgio in his 351 Cleveland powered Capri. Very, very quick car from Fairfield Heights in New South Wales.
He'll be taking on a fellow New South Welshman in the form of Peter Papist with his 308 Holden powered Tirana.
Complete with sickness on the number plates. Let's see how sick it is. A pair of clean greens for these competitors. 5-0 up against a 4-5. Hatchigiorgio with the advantage on the start line.
Not too much in it though. Papist is right with him, but Hatchigiorgio gets the win at 11.35. He'll move into the next round of Super Street.
He may be doing battle against Jeff McNiff on screen now. Jeff from St Mary's, a 265 six-cylinder Chrysler Hemi in this car.
He dials in at 12.20 seconds. He'll be getting 0.8 of a second from Salvatore Sapala.
Salvatore into the XW, both cars into stage. And once again, another pair of clean greens.
McNiff with the better of it by a couple of tenths of a second. This guy races in Melbourne, he races in Brisbane, and of course this is his home track. Plenty of experience, and he puts it to good use this time with a big win at 12.87. He had miles of time up his sleeve.
Robert Chapman now. Very, very well presented car. The paintwork on this is in some quite detail.
Beautifully presented car, that's for sure. He's taking on Nick Galaxides from Blacktown with his 351 Ford, the XYGT.
Definitely a local boy is Nick. Blacktown just down the road from Eastern Creek Raceway.
1.2 seconds handicap start to the Ford. The Holden's doing the chasing. And the Ford with a start line disadvantage. Here comes the General.
Chapman winds up the big Chevy powered Holden and gets there for the win. 11.15 to close out the second round of Super Street Eliminator.
We move into Modified Eliminator Round 2. Championship hopeful John Sting on camera. The Chevy small block powered dragster down from Queensland.
Yeah, he's got it dialed in with an 828. He's up against Tony D'Agostino in the altered. Tony's dialed in with a 950.
And I think Tony knows he's up against one of the hot shots this time. No therapy, he says. Well, I tell you what, this will straighten him out.
Let's check him out on the start line on the limiter. D'Agostino, a 403 light. That's sharp, but the car gets a little bit loose. The dragster starts to chase him down now.
John Sting gets it an 850, 133 mile an hour. He takes one more step up the ladder in Modified.
Alan White back again in his small block powered altered. Darton with a 952. He's up against one of the favourites, Peter Byrne.
Well, Peter Byrne, we'll see him shortly. There it is, the Star Performance Altered. It's modelled on a Bantam, would you believe? An Austin Bantam bodied car, but I don't know whether the designers would recognise it these days.
Yeah, certainly a fair bit of push and shove being done to that body. Both cars are in the stage. You can hear them on their rev limiters. A 419 for Alan White. Boy, that's sharp.
Peter Byrne, though, is bouncing all over the track off the end of the concrete. White gets across the line first. 925, 135 mile an hour. So the Star Performers are out.
Gary McKelvey up against Russell Redding, the Redding crazy horsepower car on screen.
Here's Gary McKelvey with his Andrews race cars built. Rear engine dragster. Gary puts the visor down while the crazy horse is guided back by the chief.
Yes, Gary coming from the Super Street Super Sedan ranks up to Modified Eliminator and doing a great job too. He's a fair way out in front of Russell Redding and will get there first. 9.43 at 120 miles an hour.
Well, the dragster's doing well. Here's another one of them, Mark Mitchell, up from Victoria in the Street and Strip Engineering car. He is one of the championship hopefuls. There's a few from all over Australia that hope to take away the #1 plate at the end of the meeting.
Mick Borg is in beside him. Mick, one of the crowd favourites. He's definitely very wild off the start line. Pulls the front wheels of fairway in the air.
0.41 of a second handicap start, and too soon.
Oh, there's that wheel stand.
Big wheel stand, pulled the wheel straight out of the top of the beam, I'd suggest. He's red lighted. Mark Mitchell says, I got no problems. I'll just take a Sunday afternoon drive. Heads it across the finish line, finally in 15.5 seconds.
Well, another one of the Queensland competitors on screen, Glenn Gregson.
Gregson with this T-bucket. He's been doing well in modified. Up against John Ward. Look at this, the Sydney car with the high wing, the wing warrior we call it down here.
And another red light, a pair of them as a matter of fact. Gregson coming out with the win.
Yes, a 393 red light for John Ward. He had the opportunity to leave first and lit the bulb, so Gregson gets the victory.
11.28 for him at 95 miles an hour as we continue with another one of the Queenslanders.
Well, it's Russell Schaefer. We've got a pair of yellow front-engine dragsters. This wouldn't happen too often. Schaefer from Queensland up against Joe Zulo from New South Wales.
Big difference between the motivation, though. A 6-cylinder for Zulo, a 302 Windsor for Schaefer, and another red light. Zulo leaving way too soon with a 311 red light.
Well, Russell Schaefer, he'll drive it through by the look of it. 983, 133 mile an hour, not too far away from his dial-in, and he's moving up that modified eliminator ladder.
Boy, you Queenslanders like racing here at the Grand Finals. Rob McKitterick on screen now. Beautiful car, a lot of horsepower being made from that small block Chev.
He's dialed in at 9.11 seconds. He'll give away 1.04 seconds to Sean Brown and his front engine digger. Brown looks across, waiting for McKitterick to come in and stage. The Alta just creeping forward. In they go into the start line, light beams.
Can we get a pair of clean greens? Haven't seen it for a while, and we do this time.
McKitterick doing the chasing, got out well. The Alta moving all over the track. I think Brown might have it. Oh, right on the line there. Brown too quick, 38 thousandths of a second too fast for the breakout. McKitterick gets the win light.
The beautiful car of Dennis Gatt on screen now. Small block Chev powered car up against Bob Millett, another small block powered car.
Bobby Millett, well known in modified in Queensland, originally raced in Townsville at the Townsville International Raceway, moved to Mooloolaba on the Sunshine Coast because he enjoys it up there, and now really one of the hard chargers in modified at the Winter Nationals. Looked like Brown with a few problems pushing away there.
Yeah, they're just getting around the top end of the racetrack as these two competitors make their way into stage. Gatt gets out on a red light, a 382. Boy, we've seen a lot of them in this round of modified.
Certainly have. He's across the line first, but wastes it. Millett, an 8.929 at 144 mile an hour. He moves into the next round.
Back to the heads-up racing of Super Gas, and it's round 2. Des Wollstonecroft up against Colin Griffin.
The Victorians going at it tooth and nail. And they're all chasing points for the Australian Drag Racing Series' ANDRA Shield as well. Each division of the National Association sends a team here to the Grand Finals. The Victorians very strong in Super Gas Eliminator, that's for sure.
This is a pro start. One flash of all three ambers, then it's a clean green. Both cars get away nicely. Actually, a red light from Griffin leaves too soon. A 363. Wollstonecroft with the automatic win.
Wollstonecroft driving it hard at 9.91. You must remember it's a fixed dial-in of 990, so Wollstonecroft looking good. Paul Beauchamp now the #1 qualifier. This is it, the Roadster, the fiberglass-bodied Ford Roadster. He'll be taking on Craig Geddes.
Yes, Craig Geddes, definitely one of the champions in Super Gas Eliminator. Both cars going into stage.
That's the way it's at, and red light this time for Beauchamp. The Queenslanders bulbed out of it. Geddes chasing the championship. Look at this Chimera, looking strong, and 985 is a breakout. Doesn't matter when there's a red light against you.
Sam Strano now up against Mark Krajecki. Krajecki ran a brilliant 9.901 in the first round of eliminations. He's hoping to produce this time.
Well, Sam Strano in the little HB Tirana for S&S Racing, up from Victoria, doing a pretty good job in this car. The nitrous oxide sticker on the back showing where it gets its extra motivation. The Mad Dog and Strano. Strano with a big wheel stand. He's in front.
Clean greens this time as well. A 4.5 up against a 4.4. Things are tight. Strano gets there first, only just 10.03 at 129 miles an hour.
Well, Rob has a party. It's a Mazda body, but there's no rotary under that one. It's a 351 Ford V8 That's giving him his motivation, and he's got a solo run. He'll enjoy this one. He can drive it out, take it as hard as he likes, doesn't have to worry about breaking out. He can test himself.
Yes, using it to test his setup on the car, because 9.90 is the ideal time, and he runs a 9.86 at 143 miles an hour.
Well, Ian Fitzgerald in the headset cylinder heads car now, based in Queensland.
Up against Hugo Di Gianvincenzo in this beautiful Statesman. Runs for Dominator torque converters.
Well, Hugo's got a lot of horsepower, a lot of electronics in the car to try and tame it back to that 990 when he needs to. Comes down to start line battle in Super Gas Eliminator, a battle of the wits.
Both cars edging into stage. Clean greens, a 4-3 for Hugo, a 5-4 for Ian Fitzgerald. That's cost him a little bit on the start line. The Tory starts to chase up top, but Hugo gets there first. A 9.97 beats a 9.93 to close the second round of Super Gas.
Super Sedan Eliminator again, this time round 2. The Queenslanders doing battle. Dave Foreman in the Tirana and David Goldie in the Pacific Performance. Holden Kingswood.
Goldie showing good form after his large accident at the 94 Grand Finals. Of course, he totaled his Ford Capri Super Gasser.
Now he's back with a vengeance for Pine City Towing. All the people that have helped him out, try and get him back on the track, and he's been rewarding them so far. A 4.3 reaction time is better than David Foreman's 4.8. Let's see if he can run close to that 10.85 dial in. Goldie's in front. Here comes Foreman. Oh, Goldie by 22 thousandths of a second. He's got the win light.
10.91 at 120 miles an hour as we continue with Charlie MICALI in the Torco Oils 57 Chevrolet.
He's up against Colin McDonald in this Escort 351. It's a Windsor under there, I think. Runs for NRMA Smash Repairs. A classic Chevrolet against, well, one of Britain's best.
One of the early model Fords, that's for sure. Both cars into stage now. The starter sends them on their way. McDonald gets out cleanly with a 5.5 light. MICALI sharper with a 4.5. And look at the 57 round him up.
McDonald with a problem, I think. He seems to be pretty slow. MICALI's got the opportunity to shut right off to a 10.22. And McDonald will be out of there.
One of the real heavy hitters in Super Sedan Eliminator, Graham Cooper, has had the #1 on the side of the car for a number of seasons.
He'll be taking on Jim Demirov, the New South Welshman, and Jim's no easy beat, that's for sure. He's dialed in at 10.85 seconds. Cooper will be giving away 0.2 of a second start. This rare spares car, it's been supported by him. It's a 1964 model Holden, but it's only 2 years old. It was completely rebuilt with rare spares panels.
Well, it's very, very sharp off the lights too. A 4.96 up against Demirov's 6.20. That'll hurt him, I think. It's pretty close, side by side. The Bricklayer gets there first, 10.75.
Only 35 thousandths of a second was the winning margin across the line. These guys in Super Sedan Eliminator continue to turn it on. People like Mick Dalton in the Charger from Victoria, and of course Dean Sweeney in that street-driven Capri.
Yes, very impressive. Dean drives the car to and from the racetrack and around on occasions. Got a big block Chev on board. Mick Dalton had a bye in the first round, but he's got competition this time. Sweeney a 4.8, Dalton a 4.7. Things are tight on the start line.
Very, very close. Here comes Sweeney. Dalton in front. Too quick. Breaks out. 29 thousandths of a second. Sweeney's the winner with a 10.15.
Another Capri, and this time it's Graham Kennedy, one of the long-distance travellers all the way from Western Australia. He's up against Shane Corr in this little Corolla. Boy, not a little engine under the bonnet, though. Quite a large Chevrolet V8.
Yeah, the 1200cc Toyota engine's gone. It's got the GM V8 product in there now. Dials in at 10.80 seconds and throws it away. Another red light. 5 thousandths of a second too soon.
Oh, tough call for Corr. Kennedy gets another win, which puts him in good stead for the championship, and he runs it through with a 10.21 at 136 miles per hour.
Dennis Moreau now in the Alfa Romeo. And of course, once again, the engine swap is the heart of a lot of these drag race vehicles.
Up against Tony Romeo. Tony in the Capri. 10.79 is what he's dialed it in, up against Moreau in his 10.50 dialed in Alpha.
That's the way it works. Romeo with a Chev V8 under the bonnet. Likewise, I think, for MOREAU. Look at the two cars go at it head to head. Oh, wheel to wheel, the Capri, the Alpha, anybody's race. It's the Alpha first. Gets there with a 10.54 and a 10.50 dial-in. That's tight.
Here's the fuel-injected, supercharged, big block-powered Camaro of Terry Aglin. What a beast, 8-second competitor, and he gets the solo pass. Will he take it easy? I doubt it.
Well, in the last round, he ran an 8.60 on an 8.60 dial-in. You can't get much better than that. Here he comes, runs it hard, 8.74, 155, and a little bit wild in the braking area.
Stepping out for Aglin there, a lot of fun in Super Sedan. Ian Nielsen now up against Jason Griemer, the Rat in the Cat, the big block Chev in the Jaguar.
That's the way it comes out. Ian Nielsen down from Queensland, Jason Griemer running for the New South Wales divisional team regarding the ANDRA Shield.
Griemer just backing up now, has got the door open to let all the smoke escape after the large burnout. Very quick car, this runs in the mid-9s.
Very, very good race. This one a 9.92 dial-in for Nielsen. Griemer with a 9.52. It will be tight. It'll come down to the start line, I think. Have a look at this. They're gone.
Griemer gets out with a 4-1 light. Boy, that's going to be sharp. It's going to help him try to catch this Tirana.
Tirana coming on strong. Look at this. Very close. 5,000ths of a second of the win to Nielsen in the Tirana. Great Super Sedan action as we move towards Super Street. They may not be as fast as the Super Sedans, but the racing is just as competitive. Super Street, Darren Moody's turning the tyres, getting them hot.
Yes, he's 308. Holden working very hard. He's got a lot of work ahead of him. He's up against Juan Kudnik, the #1 in Super Street Eliminator.
Championship favourite probably, Juan Kudnik. He's been virtually unbeatable around the country so far. Darren Moody getting 1.5 seconds handicap start from the defending champion. Gets out with a great point, 4.4 light, 4.6 to Kudnik. Moody in front and with a better reaction time.
Kudnik's got a lot of work on his hands. Can he catch Moody? It's going to be really close up top. Only just .076 between him on the finishing line and an 11.35 for the win to Kudnik.
Just got him, that's for sure, so it's not coming easy for the defending champ. Jeff Hislop now in the big Pontiac GTO. He's taking on Gary Riley in the Capri.
Ford versus Pontiac. Riley, the 302 Windsor-powered car, up against 461 cubic inches of Pontiac. Beautiful car, a lot of weight, a lot of horsepower to push it to its 11-second ETs.
Only 5/100ths of a second was the handicap. Gary Riley was supposed to give it away, but the better reaction time put him off the line in front.
Hislop with a 6.57's a little bit off the pace, and Riley gets the win an 11.451 at 106 miles an hour.
Still they come at us. Chris Hillman in this beautiful utility. What a job he's done with that one.
Also a very well presented car in beside him, Robert Chapman. A lot of nice paintwork on this car. Chapman's dialed in with an 11.09. Hillman with 11.20. Clean greens.
Not much in the reaction times either. A pretty close race. Hillman out in front. Chapman coming back at him. Chapman by a wheel and breaks out. Runs an 11.08. Breaks out by 1/100th of a second.
The win to Hillman an 11.22. The Bears back. The rookie in his 289 Windsor-powered Cortina up against a 302 Windsor-powered XP utility.
Gary Stellino in the XP Ute, John Somaraz in the Bonnyrigg Smash Repairs backed Cortina.
Beautiful car it is too, a brand new vehicle, only being completed a few weeks ago, so I am told.
Well, Gary Stellino, the picture of concentration there, he dials in it at an 11.42, gets 0.42 of a second handicap start from John Somaraz in the Cortina. Look at them looking, they're chasing the lights and chasing too hard for Stellino. He's red lighted.
322 red light, a great 4.19 for John Somaraz. 11.00 is what he's dialed in at. How close does he go to that? 11.05 at 120 miles per hour.
Very good performance so far by John. Peter HILLMAN now strong in the Capri. Likewise, Ralph Perry. Boy, they like to smoke them up.
Yeah, that MOREAU, a strong piece, a small block Chev-powered car, 351 cubic inches of Cleveland for the Capri.
Well, have a look at this. They're all eyes on the tree once more. Perry gets out with a good .579. That's better than HILLMAN's 6 light. Here comes the Capri, the MOREAU in front. The Ford Power looks to be starting to do the job right on the line. 29 thousandths of a second is the margin. HILLMAN with the win light.
Boy, that was some close racing in Super Street Eliminator. Warwick Curry now. 351 cubes of fuel injected forward in the Escort. He's up against Jeff McNiff. McNiff in the 265 Chrysler Hemi-powered car. Oh, he's got some problems. Solo pass for Curry. McNiff gets the pushback.
Well, Jeff McNiff, unfortunate for him, broken something in the Valiant. Now we've got the situation. Warwick Curry doesn't have to worry about winning the race. He can test his dial in. 11.30. How close will he go? And 11.46 for the win as we head for some two-wheel action. Competition Bike Eliminator, the first of our Group 2 categories. No dial-ins here, no breakouts. They race on the class index for their particular category. Ashley Taylor, the #1 qualifier. He runs B altered bike. His index is at 9.48 seconds. Takes on Marty Searle. His index in B street bike is in 9.80. He gets a handicap start.
Very quick triple cylinder 750 for Taylor as both bikes go into stage.
Marty Searle, a good .41 reaction time, but Ashley Taylor just blasts by him. He'll look over his shoulder. He doesn't have to worry about breaking out, but he doesn't want to do any damage to his index, so he runs a 9.89 at 99 miles an hour.
Our next pair of competitors now is Angelo Ganitas. Angelo on his 870 index up against Dave Borum, running on a 796 index.
Yes, 0.74 of a second. We've got a C comp bike against a B comp bike. What's the difference? The capacity or the fact that the B comp bike is turbocharged. Borum has trouble getting the turbo bike off the start line. Angelo Ganitas, he's got an easy run this time. Looks over his shoulder, an 892, 139 miles an hour.
Michael Sargent on screen now on his A altered bike. 915 is his index that he's running against. He's up against David Shaw on the first of our Harley Davidsons.
Yeah, 0.2 of a second handicap start for Dave Shaw as Mick Sargent gets a little bit of spit and polish. All the way from Western Australia is Mick Sargent and his team.
Both bikes into stage now. Great paintwork on Sargent's bike.
Shaw comes out and starts to bounce around on the Harley, but Mick Sargent absolutely sails by. He'll take the win with a 915, 114 miles an hour.
Yeah, David Shaw trying hard there, 1094 at only 82 miles an hour for him, probably some troubles. The next of our Harley competitors, Craig Bonwick.
Oh, and a problem for Bonwick. I saw him start his burnout. Looks, yes, the chain's gone. Broken the chain in the burnout. Scotty Lynch says, well, not my fault. I've been given a gift because Craig Bonwick was one of the higher qualifiers.
Praise the Lord, he says, as he brings the bike into stage. Bit of a gift for Scotty Lynch.
He's not going to take it too hard by the look of things. Just cruises it down the quarter mile. 19.49 seconds, but he's into the next round of comp bike.
John Adin on screen now on the Kawasaki, beautiful motorbike. He's up against Red Lockheed, and Lockheed has really got this bike to motivate.
Both of these bikes, Kawasaki's, and both in C street bike class. John Aiden been sponsored by Phil Beaumont Motorcycles for about 10 years now. Plenty of support from them, but Red Lockheed too strong on this pass. Already well in front. Looks back, says, I've got this one. Rolls the throttle off. 10.23, 117 mile an hour.
With plenty to play with. John Parker now. He's up against Brian Leonard.
Yeah, John Parker on the Harley Davidson, burning out now. Brian Lennon, we saw a moment ago. There he is. A lot of these races, Nathan, they're making sure they don't run under their index if they don't have to, because if you run under your index, it gets tougher in the next round.
Certainly using a little bit of brake light insurance. finding out where their competitor is and applying the brake just short of the finishing line.
Parker comes out strong. Brian Lennon, oh, he's red lighted a 388. Parker says, well, I can see a win light. I don't have to work too hard here. And Brian Lennon's thrown away an 880. Tin Top time again. Super Stock Eliminator. The Group 2 categories, 4 cars with doors.
This is the 95 Grand Finals. Competitors coming from throughout Australia. We just saw Peter Michael from South Australia on screen. He is up against Graham Walker in his beautiful VRC Gasser.
Peter Michael, number 2 qualifier for Superstock this weekend. The championship has come down to a battle between two. Peter Michael and Dave Tucker will be fighting it out. I would suggest they're the 2 leaders in the point score. Graham Walker could be a spoiler. This beautiful car. Absolutely fantastic presentation on the Commodore.
Walker's got the horsepower, has got trouble getting the car up the start line. You can see it stumble, but really starts to work hard from about 150 foot out. He's not going to catch Michael though. Peter Michael on the brakes and coasts to a 10.27 at 113 mile an hour. However, he has still gone under his index just slightly.
So it'll get a little bit tougher for Peter Michael in the next round. Well, Joe Colin there with a big, strong burnout. Daniel Stanek, supercharged small block.
Stanek driving the former Lucky Baleri VN Commodore. The Colin car launching hard there. A real crowd favourite, this one.
Can't understand that. Crowd really getting behind Joe Colin. Look, shut off signal. Don't know what the problem is, but his crew's saying, no, shut it off. He's in the beams, he's staged, but he said, shut the car off.
Oh, disappointing news for the team. They've made it so far, had the horsepower. Stanek gets out hard. This is going to be a good run for him. Should shut it off shortly, though. Ooh, you can see him just getting off the throttle and coasted through to an 8.49 at 123 mile an hour. Oh, look at the angle of the car, Rob. It's a flat tyre.
Oh, that last launch, that dry launch, it must have torn the stem out or something like that. Well, Michael Davies now in the Berry Patch car from Queensland. Supercharged, small block Chev running double B gas.
Up against Sam Xenos in the big Chrysler. Famous for its big wheels up launches.
Well, he's running B modified sedan. Modified sedan cars are really restricted as far as Superstock's concerned. Single 4-barrel carburetor. Look at the wheel stand from it though. Leaves hard, big handicap. Michael Davey went up and down in the air but didn't go forward too quickly.
Yeah, Xenos gets there quite substantially with a 10.49, 125 mile an hour. The Berry Patch did some tough chasing at 164 mile an hour, but wasn't quick enough.
Rodney Elsey now with his B-modified sedan, Chevelle. These limited cars are, well, pretty popular here this weekend.
Certainly are. He's up against Peter Thorpe driving the Wilkie car.
Peter Thorpe running C gas. Well, this car in gas, if he wanted to, he can run fiberglass panels, he can run fuel injection or multiple carburetors. He can use engine setback, Peter Thorpe can, if he wanted to, in gas class. Modified sedan, got to be all steel panels, glass windows, the whole deal. And I think wheel stands must be compulsory.
I think so. A red light, though, for Elsley. Leaves too soon by about 45 thousandths of a second. The win goes to Peter Thorpe with a 9.30, 150 miles an hour. Tommy Jackson now, the small block powered 240, loves his burnouts.
Absolutely smokes the tyres off the 24-ounce Datsun. Gets the door open to get some smoke out and some air in. Have a look at that one. Lindsay Randall now, carbureted B gasser, but he likes to smoke them up as well.
B gas up against double B gas. The double B gas index is a 790. Tom is capable of running that quick. Lindsay Randall's on an 880 B gas index.
Randall running for Marsden Mechanical and, of course, Craigar Performance up there in Queensland. Gets out with a good light, a .44. Jackson under a lot of pressure. I tell you what, he goes quick at the deep end, but I don't think he'll catch Randall. Randall the winner, an 896, 149 mile an hour. Jackson's 164, couldn't catch him.
Robert Burke now for Eastern Creek Performance Centre on screen. We have Kim Petterwood not driving Kim's car.
No, this is Woody Woodward's car. Woody with some problems. Look at that, Petterwood, a huge wheel stand. Cost him some time coming back to earth. Burke's out in front. Petterwood has jumped in to drive the car in eliminations. but it doesn't pay off. Burke gets the win, runs across the line, 10.97 at 122 mile an hour.
Brett Roberts now looks like a street car, but this is a supercharged small block. What a beast. Up against one of the championship contenders in super stock, David Tucker.
Yeah, Dave Tucker in the Pacific Performance Camaro. He is currently second in the championship points. Really will be in a tussle with Peter Michael, I would suggest. Well, Burke with his double B gas Tirana, unbelievably on treaded tyres, would you believe?
Very, very tricky piece of Brett Roberts. Got a big chase on his hands. I don't think he's going to do it.
Have a look at this. There's a big chase. Smoke, flash, bang! Roberts' car's gone. Look at that. Lost an engine, I'd suggest. Easy win to Tucker, but big troubles for Brett Roberts. He has blown an engine in a big way.
Action aplenty in Super Stock Eliminator.
Plenty of action in Super Stock, and now we move into Competition Eliminator. Dragsters, altereds, funny cars, all on the National Index system. First up, a pair of dragsters. We've got Ray Walker for New South Wales, and there, Graham Porter in the Ragged Edge car from Queensland.
Walker, the 94 competition champion. Porter in there with a chance of being #1 in competition this year. 780 up against an 810 index. Let's see how they go. Porter gets there first on a 788 at 169 miles an hour.
Well, the dragsters are holding the sway so far. Another dragster, the B dragster of George Berkluashev. His index is an 8.10. He's got a bye run. Chris Stepanovic hasn't been able to front for the first round of racing, got some problems. So now George has got the perfect opportunity to find out just how he's going in the car. Well, he's going pretty well on the lights. A 4:01 reaction time.
I expect him to shut the car off early, though. Doesn't want to harm that index in any way. 850 is what he runs, 119 mile an hour. Backs off the throttle and coasts it through.
Funny car time. The body comes down on Bob Shepherd's Gambler. Double B funny car. A supercharged iron block Chevrolet engine under that fiberglass skin. Shepherd will be taking on Chris Green with his C dragster.
And this isn't going to be so easy for Shepherd. Green has really stepped up with his combination.
Bob Shepherd loves the burnouts. Here's Chris Green now, 308 Holden powered C dragster. His index is an 850, getting 1.4 seconds handicap start from Bob Shepherd.
Shepherd just getting backed up now, both cars into stage. Green gets away cleanly. Shepherd a little bit slow on the lights. He's going to have to push the car hard. He'll be pushing that index. Look at the funny car charge. 6.99 seconds, gets the win, but he's hurt that index.
194 miles an hour for Shepherd. He'll be handicapped on a tougher index in the next round. Charles Van Issel now, #1 qualifier. The A dragster has been running stunningly. The 7.5 seconds out of this car. The index is 780. It's easy to see why he is #1. He's got a solo in the first round.
Oh, the car gets out very hard indeed. Has almost been untouchable throughout qualifying. Shuts the car off early and coasts it through on an 839.
Well, he's not taking any chances. If you run quicker than your index in one round of racing, the index is lowered for the next. More dragster action in Competition Eliminator now. Rod Rainford with a C dragster for Motivator Racing Engines from Victoria, and Sydney's own Rick Layla.
Yeah, Layla running on an A dragster index of 7.80 seconds.
0.7 of a second handicap start. He'll be giving away. Rainford looking for a first round win here, and he won't get it. Red lights, leaves too soon. 0.326 red light. He shuts it off in disgust, and Rick Layla cruises it through for an 820 victory.
Yes, an 820, 163 mile an hour. Quite a substantial speed from the A dragster. Supercharged action now.
Well, here they come at us. Peter Whelan in the altered. Debbie Reed from Queensland in the small block Chevrolet powered dragster, qualified #2 in the 6 second zone.
What a wild piece this altered is of Peter Whelan's. He's running on a 679 double B altered index. That's going to be a huge ask from the man.
Well, yes, he's giving away a 0.41 of a second handicap start to Debbie Reed, and Debbie's already run in the sixes during qualifying. She gets out strong, wheeling a little bit slippery, a little bit shaky. Debbie Reed clicks it way early and runs a 7.11 to win that round of competition eliminator.
Obviously, under these sorts of weather conditions, it's impossible to run drag racing. We could sit here for a long time, but sooner or later we have to make a call on the condition of the track and the effect that it has on the competition and also the spectators. So at this point in time, we've had to postpone the racing.
Sun has finally broken out here on Sunday and the crowds come back to Eastern Creek. Blue skies, they've been a foreign object around Sydney for some time, and this crowd waiting to see some action. First out will be the top fuelers. Right now, though, Andrew Voss down in the area. Who's he talking to? Rochelle Splatt.
Well, Rochelle, drag racing to you, what does it mean?
Means going quick and going fast and beating everybody.
Well, what do you do next after you've gone 300 miles per hour? What can you do after that?
Well, I've only done 300 mile an hour in America. So one of our goals is to be the first to do 300 mile an hour in Australia. That would be the ultimate thing, I think, to do.
But is there a time for you? I mean, people get bored with their jobs. Do you get bored with what you do?
No, you couldn't get bored with doing this. Actually, you get a little, it's too far in between races. I love being at the racetrack and doing all this stuff, so I get a little bit bored with work, normal work.
Well, tell us about the very first time you're at the start. You're just about to stage. Do you remember what you were thinking or what you were feeling?
The very first time that I raced one of these cars, I remember how nervous I was. I was so nervous. I just can't explain how nervous I was. It was pretty unbelievable. I thought my heart was just going to beat out my chest. But it was something that I really wanted to do. I was determined that I was going to make it and get my license and compete, and that's why I kept doing it.
And now it's still the same buzz every time that you're just about to stage?
Now I can enjoy it. Haven't got those nerves where it's making me scared. You know, I get butterflies and I get a little bit nervous, but I enjoy what I do as well.
Ice water runs in her veins now. Look at that. That's Wonderland just across the road there. What about some of the rides here, Rob?
Well, this is a place for excitement all around the area. Eastern Creek, a wonderful complex for the people of Sydney and, of course, the state of New South Wales.
Out they come, round one, top fuel. Robin Kirby takes on Steve Reed.
Well, we've seen Steve Reed take out the shootout. Can he keep the march going this weekend? Robin Kirby's the giant killer.
Steve Reed, wow, so fast. Took out the wind shootout in fine style. Jimmy Reed, of course, red lighted, but at that stage, Pommy Steve Reed had just driven past him, and that wonderful speed.
480 kilometres an hour, that's 298. We've just heard Rochelle Splatt talking about the first 300 mile an hour pass. They all want it, they can feel it.
Robin Kirby now, you're looking at two of the dark horses here. They're wild cards, these two. When they're on form, the Pommy Steve Reed shown us already, they can do just about anything.
Well, yes, Pommy driving now for Santo Rapasado, and it's a fantastic pairing. The talents of the two have really complemented each other, and that's made it a real force in Top Fuel Eliminator.
Good look at the track there. You can see they almost run down a hill and then up a hill here at Eastern Creek.
The concrete start line will hold the horsepower.
Way they go, Steve Reed. Oh, he's dead set, just flying this weekend. Part of the Air Force, he is. Out of the blocks and just down the run there. No way was Robin Kirby going to get close.
Well, he's just staying so consistent. 5.03 again, and he shut it off a lot earlier this time. No chance of a 300 mile an hour run there, but what he wants is to win. He wants to win this event.
Oh, I tell you what, how quick has he been to get away? And once he's got away, he just keeps driving the thing. Look, it's still on fire out of the pipes. But he's done the smart thing, shut it down and keep it fresh.
That's what it's about. Keep it safe for the next round because they come up pretty quick. Here's Rochelle Splatt coming forward. Can she do that magic number?
Rochelle Splatt will take on Terry Sainty. Beautifully turned out motor car. And I tell you what, when you look at her, she's so tiny. When you hear her talk about it, she's so passionate about it, isn't it? I mean, if anybody had a mission in life was born to race, that lady was born.
Well, she has been absolutely brilliant. Went across to Japan, Darryl, and beat the internationals at a big international event over there. took on the best in the world and did us proud.
Terry Sainey, let's not forget him from New South Wales. I think he's going to have to really be on his mettle to take on Rochelle and do the business. But at Eastern Creek, we've certainly seen some upsets, and I'm sure they're going to continue.
Well, Terry Sainey's driving for the Sainey Speedworks team. It's a revolutionary 3-valve engine developed by the Sainey's themselves, still in the early stages of development.
Away they go, Rochelle split. Oh, look at Rochelle. Away she goes, and she's won it at a canter. Shoots her out. Everybody's okay, waiting for the speed. There it is, 4:39.02.
That's a good speed, a 5:07. She's keeping her consistency, but Terry Sainey, 5.5 seconds. That's his quickest by half a second.
Watch it from behind here. This is spectacular. Look at them light them up. Look at the rubber that Rochelle is leaving there. Just drives away from Sadie. Spectacular stuff for the Flames. Shooting it out in the daytime, we're seeing them. And look at the crew. Look at the crew. They tell the story.
Yeah, Rochelle's father there, a happy man. As we move along, this top fuel action comes at us quick. This is a guy we haven't seen for a while, Bob Sherry, at the wheel of the NEC car. The team hails from South Australia, and believe me, they are up against the man that is fighting for his championship. We'll see him in a minute. He wants to win his 15th title.
Haven't seen too much of Bob Sherry, the South Australian. I've seen a lot from this man now as he smokes them up and the crowd get behind him. Hasn't been a good weekend so far for Jimmy Reed. He's won it so many times. I'm just wondering if they know how to spell anyone else's name on the trophy.
Well, that's what it comes down to, but he's under immense pressure. He is leading the series, but Graham Cowan is right behind him. Cowan's the #1 qualifier here this weekend. Got a bye run in the first round, so he's already got his points. Reed has to win to really keep his lead alive.
What do we know about Bob Sherry of recent times? Because I've got to be honest, I haven't seen him race.
He ran very well down in Adelaide earlier in the year, came up to Eastern Creek in May, unfortunately had a bad clutch failure, did a lot of damage to the car. This is their first time back. The car is on a mission because they want to get down into those competitive low 5-second times.
I'll tell you what, if tuning comes out of the pipes the way it sounds, this thing is ready to race. Away they go. Reed gets them there. Oh, no, Reed's got it up. Look, he's smoked it out. He's gone. Jimmy Reed's gone. The championship is gone. Sherry's taken him. Cherry's taken him. And Jimmy Reed had all sorts of problems. The South Australian got the cash. What's the start, Bobby?
Reed came out like a bullet, then overpowered. Too much horsepower. It's over for him there. Sherry will take the win. Sherry races Graham Cowan in the next round. If Sherry beats Cowan, Reed's still the champion.
Side-by-side racing in the top fuelers, and it's the same story in the pits too. It's side-by-side, the teams rushing basically against the clock, the same as they are out on the track, trying to get things ready for the semi-finals. From the Winfield racing team, Jim Reed. The car we've got behind us, the NEC top fueler of Bob Sherry. It's the one that's knocked you out of business, although you had a few problems in your run.
Oh, well, it's just one of the hazards of racing in weather conditions like this. We smoked the tyres. All to Bob's credit, he didn't. He got down to the end first. He got the money.
Well, take us through the rebuild, because it is basically frantic activity from the moment they complete the run to when they get back here and they go out on the track again, particularly when we're pushed for time like today.
That's right. You know, we're expecting the weather to roll back in this afternoon. These guys, she's a full tear down after each pass. You pull the heads off, pistons out, you check the main bearings, and you go from there. Put it back together, and then you've got to start the thing up, warm it up, make sure there's no oil leaks, get it back out there. You've got 1 3/4 hours.
This is where the mechanics really come into play. I guess they feel the pressure more so the driver when he's at the start line.
Yeah, well, especially when you get little problems. It's okay when everything's going the way that you expect it to go. These guys here, they've had some problems, found some crook coils. They've had to come borrow some coils from us. We've lent on the coils off our car. We're hoping like hell they beat the guys next door, because if they do, I keep the championship.
Well, you heard it there from the horse's mouth. Jim Reed will be hoping that Bob Sherry and his NEC team can beat this man, Graham Cowan. Cowan was the #1 qualifier with a 4.923 second pass. Unbelievable performance. He's got the first round bye, and he's going to use it to his advantage, I would suggest. Trying to just get a handle on this very, very tricky racetrack. We've had rain, we've had humidity, now we've got heat. All the teams have been struggling. Graham Cowan in the Shell rocket ship. First round top fuel, Top qualifiers by, leaves the line, smokes it up. Same problem as Reed. Too much horsepower for the conditions. He'll get away with it though. He's on a bye run. He moves into the second round of racing to face up to that man from South Australia, Bob Sherry and the NEC Top Fuel team.
Well, there you go. There it is from the horse's mouth. He's back in the South Australian.
Well, Top Alcohol now. These are the methanol-burning cousins of the Top Fuel cars. We'll see dragsters and funny cars. They mix it in together and they always provide that close racing. Round one in the Top Gun car is John Noonan from Queensland up against a fellow banana bender, Mark Brew.
Yeah, two Queenslanders here, Mark Brew, John Noonan from Queensland. That's Brew there in the white colour car, and of course Noonan in that distinctive yellow car, the Top Gun car.
Yes, Mark Brew driving for Pro Force Motorsport in Pommy Reed's alcohol car actually, and of course John Noonan, what an ambassador for Top Gun.
Here we go, waiting for a start. Noonan takes on Brew, the two Queenslanders, Top Alcohol. Away they go, good start from both cars. Oh, listen to the drive of Noonan there. He had a bit of wheel spin, he just drove through it.
Incredible stuff, 6:06. Good time for John Noonan. He's leading the way so far this weekend. The Top Gun car looking good. Mark Brew, I think he broke a trans. It really revved hard.
Oh, yeah, you could hear it there. There's Steve Harker now from Queensland against Stan Tyndall from New South Wales. Now an unusual pair up here, of course. Same thing, Top Alcohol, just two different looking cars.
That's what it comes down to, the funny car, a fiberglass body draped over a short wheelbase front engine car. These run about 540 cubic inches of engine size. The dragsters normally around 430, and it all levels up in the performance stakes.
Well, he's been consistent right throughout the year without quite just getting the prize.
Well, he's right up there, and I think this weekend his qualifying position has moved him into fourth in the Winfield Pro Series. He'd like to go a little bit further, and well, it's only his second season in Top Alcohol, so not too bad for Stan.
He's doing okay. Stanley Tyndall from New South Wales takes on yet another Queenslander. Wow, I tell you what, drag racing from Queensland, they certainly send a lot of representation down to New South Wales for this big meeting.
Yeah, the Queenslanders are trying to win the Pro Cup from ANDRA for, I think, the 5th year in a row for the top professional state.
Heading that way, I would think the way they're going, they're getting plenty of cash. Always ready for a match-up now. Away we go. It's Harker and Tyndall. Harker and Tyndall. Oh, there's not much in it. That's been the best race we've seen this morning. Oh, what a ripper. Harker just gets it, but look at the time there.
No shoot for Harker. No shoot into the gravel. Takes on the net. Yes. The net's done the job, but boy, a scary moment there for Steve Harker. We can see him moving in the car.
He's okay. He's okay. That gravel pulled him. That's what it had to do. Remember, that's the area we had a big prang, and the car ended up right up over the hill just a year ago, but he's okay. He's up and sitting. Now, let's have a look at this again. Harker gets the cash with a big run, but watch this. The chute just doesn't come out, and Rob, this is the moment that all drag racers fear the most. Now, there it is. He's hurtling along at an unbelievable speed. He's got no control. He tries to get the sand trap. He does that, and it did what it had to do.
366 kilometres an hour to 0.
Steve, you right, mate?
Yeah, I'm all right.
Mate?
I pushed the chute lever and didn't get it right down quick enough, that's all. By the time I started bouncing, by the time I got it out, it was too late.
All the safety equipment doing the job perfectly there with a lucky escape by Steve Harker. Back on the start line, though, the Top Alcohol funny car action continues. Top qualifier, Stephen Reed, in the Newlon funny car. He was the number 1 with a 6.000 second elapsed time. Number 8, John Crazy Man Taylor from the south coast of New South Wales in the Corvette. The interstage, out they come. Taylor in front momentarily. Then Reed just powers his way down the Eastern Creek quarter mile. 6.019, 373.87 kilometres an hour. Big win to Steve Reed. Burning out across the line already, Jeff Burnett, and of course, Gary Phillips. Gary Phillips has already won the Australian Top Alcohol Championship for 1995. He's got enough points to be in an unbeatable position. Jeff Burnett, well, he's the number 2 at the moment and would like to make sure that nobody can catch him from behind in the championship points. They're all after that Winfield Pro Series money, that's for sure. Billet's now just bumping in the Travel Air Tours. Rocket Industries, Aussie Bananas, Dragster, powers away from the start, close to the center line, back into the middle of his lane now, and a good win, 610, 358.32 kilometres an hour.
Reaction time, really what the sport's all about.
That's exactly what it's about, and in no class more so than Pro Stock Eliminator. These the well, drag racing's touring cars. They're V8 carbureted engines and run similar sort of speeds to what the tourers would do down Bathurst.
Yeah, they are spectacular as they smoke them up and do their burnouts here. Bruce Leake from New South Wales take on Peter Ridgway, the Victorian now. And we're talking about speeds well in excess of 250 kilometres an hour.
Yeah, that's exactly it, 270, 280. This is an interesting race, Darryl. On screen now in the Performance Warehouse car, Peter Ridgway. Right now he goes into the beams and he claims the Australian Championship for 1995. Bruce Leake in the other lane was the 94 champion. He's just given it away.
Head to head, the new and the old. Who's going to get it? Leake gets away. Ridgway gets away. Oh, this is a good race side by side here. Nothing, you know, I think Bruce Leake, maybe Bruce Leake. Yes, I think from the angle that I saw, Bruce Leake got it in the white-coloured car, and he did. And there's the time, 279.18 kilometres per hour.
We talked about reaction times. Bruce Leake had a .407, 7,000ths of a second away from perfect. You don't get much better than that, and that's how he got around Ridgway.
Well, a good dice there. Coming out now, Tony Wedlock from Queensland. He'll take on Joe Polito from New South Wales.
Polito in the Shell Ford Probe, the only Ford that's qualified into the field this weekend. There was plenty of cars trying, only 8 can make it into the field, and they had to fight their way in.
Wow, I never get over the way that these cars are turned out. They're beautiful in their paintwork and their presentation. I tell you what, a lot of other racing areas could take a lot of notice of how the drag boys turn them out.
Well, the staging is so fine. Wedlock's in. Polito's starting to come forward now. They're looking for those lights.
Here we go. Keep your eye on the Christmas tree, as Andrew Voss explained it. There we go. Red light. Red light for Polito. He's going to win this, but he's got a red light. Back comes Wedlock. Wedlock drives at him. Joe Polito's won it, but he red lighted.
But 7.98 for Tony Wedlock. That was always going to be hard to beat. 270.28 kilometres an hour. The red light on the tree. You could see Polito leave way early, and Wedlock has marched down that track. That's the quickest time today. The Pro Stock promotional girls holding the banners high as number 1 qualifier Bruno Cogneto does his burnout. He's up against John O'Carney in the Super Winch Camaro. O'Carney qualifying for his first Pro Stock field. Fantastic performance to get into this very, very tough professional category at number 8. Bruno Cogneto, of course, for Victorian Performance Wholesale. Rookie of the Year in 1995. No risk about that. He's set the national record to 7.82 here at Eastern Creek in May. Really has been a star of the Pro Stock circuit. Well, John O'Carney in the Super Winch car, he has been one of the crowd favourites as he's done everything for the fans, worked his absolute fingers to the bone to get the Super Winch car into the field, and he's done it here this weekend at the Grand Finals at Eastern Creek. Well, look at this. There's a bit of a staging duel going on here. Cogneto, he's gone in. Looks like John O'Carney's going to make him wait. That's what it's about. O'Carney's waited all year to get into Pro Stock, and now he's there. He wants to make it count. The seconds are ticking over. Look at the starter. He's saying go in. Neither of them want to go into full stage. We can see the starter there giving them the directions. Cogneto now into the start line beam. The stopwatch would have started. O'Carney still holding out. The staging duel in Pro Stock. And it's come out in favour of Cogneto. He's got the reaction time, but the Team Super Winch car, the Camaro across the line first. An 8.21 beats an 8.23. Absolutely brilliant race, side by side in Pro Stock. John O'Carney gets his first ever win in the Team Super Winch Camaro. Incredible racing here in Pro Stock Eliminator. Now it's a South Australian connection. Jerry Parenti, beautiful Chevrolet Beretta there of Rob Quattrocchi, the Valvoline car. Both these drivers from Adelaide in South Australia. Quattrocchi, he is in contention to get up to number 2. He can't win the championship. His best possible result would be second in the Winfield Pro Series for 1995. Jerry Parenti with this beautiful Oldsmobile Cutlass. New player on the block. Parenti a little bit late on the lights, very late. Rob Quattrocchi drives away in the Valvoline car. He'll stop the clocks with an 8:02, 275.35 kilometres an hour. He faces Tony Wedlock in the next round of Pro Stock Eliminator. Well, you run what you brung and you hope you brung enough in Top Fuel Motorcycle, and that's what it's about now as we move into round 1.
Gavin Spann, the man we just heard from there, sitting astride this monstrous thing, and let me tell you, doesn't it go? Brett Stevens, he brings out the Harley now. Is the Harley good enough?
Well, running for Jack Daniels, and Brett Stevens has been doing plenty of racing all across Australia with the Harley. Just absolutely loves the 2-cylinder bikes.
Stevens and Spann. It's not often lately that we've seen these things run in the daytime hours, and I tell you what, they're awesome at night, but you really get a perspective of speed at the daytime, don't you?
Well, the Harley against the Jap bike, and of course that's always an area of contention. The Harley guys don't like the idea of having a Japanese bike out in front.
I know where my heart is, I can tell you.
Gavin Spann, he'll be trying to do his best. As he said, the bike has been running faster than ever before. Brett Stevens, he's in line for the quickest Harley in Australia award. There's only a couple of hundredths of a second in it.
2 Queenslanders lining up, and let me tell you, these things do not hang about. Here we go, sitting astride of, oh, the Harley in the air, and it comes off the line, but look at Spann. Spann comes back, the Harley's still in front of, I don't know, I think Spann maybe, yes. Oh, what about that for a matchup? And look at the times, look at the speeds.
There was only 3 thousandths of a second across the finish line. 7:52 for Spann, a 7:55 for Brett Stevens. You don't get bike racing any closer than that in the world.
Unbelievable. The Spann put it out on the dirt and the grass to pull it up, and watch the Harley. Look at it get up on the air, and have a look how he's got to try and fight it back. Now, Spann got his money there, but I tell you what, he's all over the side of the Harley, and he come fighting back.
And Spann, look at it on the line. Edge, 13 thousandths of a second.
Great stuff. Oh, loving this. Phil Howard from South Australia will take on Kerry Ellis from Queensland.
Kerry Ellis is on another one of these nitrous oxide assisted bikes. It's a Kawasaki. Phil Howard, of course, well based on a Kawasaki, but a hand-built Puma engine, and this is one of the championship contenders.
Look at them, light them up here. Don't the public come alive when the 2 wheel boys come out to play. Oh, boy. I tell you what, sitting on one of these things, you'd want to tickle like Farlap, I reckon.
Well, too much for me. These guys are the heroes of drag racing for my money. Phil Howard, he has run over 200 mile an hour, won the Nationals, fell off and said, no big deal.
Yeah, well, that's something else. Okay, Howard and Ellis.
Kerry Ellis already in the beams. We can still see Howard moving in the background.
Well, there's the 2 whites on there.
Ellis's stage. Boy, Bluey Howard's taken forever. He's really taken a risk here. He's got 20 seconds to get in or he's in trouble. That's the rules. And red light.
And away they go. There's a red light, so it really doesn't mean too much. But look at Ellis, just powers it down. The Kawasaki over the line. Kerry Ellis time, 2:73.87, but I want to see the replay.
Well, Ellis is the winner, but I don't think that Bluey Howard got his bike into the start line in time. The rules say that once one racer is in, and we can see Kerry Ellis is fully in, the other must be in within 20 seconds or the starter can throw the switch. There's no second light on there, so he's not in, and that's exactly what's happened, I'd say.
Yeah, red light, no doubt about that. Gee whiz, they were there a long time. Ellis waiting to hiss. Well, have a look at this. This is the bike owner. He's not happy.
John Hoskins is not happy about this. He thinks that Ellis is staged.
Now, you talked about the time.
27.5 seconds there on the watch. You saw it, so Phil Howard had plenty of time. With him out of the running, I guess this man on the Pennzoil bike, Peter Allen, is the likely man to take the Australian Championship in Top Fuel motorcycle. Pommy Pete Allen been riding two-wheel drag racing machines for well over 20 years, one of the original pioneers of Top Fuel motorcycle, and he's up against one of the rookies, Ron Fowler from Queensland, one of the Harley-Davidson riders. Peter Allen top qualified with a 7.03. Fowler, he knows he's up against it, but put out a good 7.7 second pass in qualifying. Peter Allen is always the optimum in concentration on the Pennzoil bike. Fowler got out with a red light, trying too hard. Look at the Pennzoil bike. Didn't look too good there. I think he might have wounded it. Looks like a drive pulley off the Harley-Davidson. But the bottom line is Peter Allen takes the win, 7.01. Here on the replay, the bike comes out strong. Peter Allen using plenty of body language. There it is, flame out the right-hand side. I'd say he's done another piston on the bike. Keeps the throttle open, though, that's for sure. 7.01, 275 kilometres an hour. Peter Allen moving forward. Now here comes Dave McClurg, the only Honda in the field. They call this bike the Dinosaur. It's old, it's heavy, but it is awesome. Jeff Smith in beside him on the Harley-Davidson. Getting pushed back now is Dave McClurg. Very, very large motorcycle, the old style Top Fuel bike. Fuel injected, supercharged on high doses of nitromethane. Oh, problem for Smith. He's off the bike. He knows his grand finals is over. Now, Dave McClurg's got a free run. He can take it easy, or he can run the bike all the way down the Eastern Creek quarter mile. Listen to that distinctive exhaust note of the Honda. Cracks the throttle open, really leaning off the bike. You can see the wheel stand. It's moving around a lot. 281 kilometres an hour. Great run there from Dave McClurg.
From bikes to top door slammers, Peter Gratz from Queensland comes out in this car that I just love. This thing is a beautiful, beautiful motor car. Alf Sorbello from New South Wales, he'll take him on, but look at Peter Gratz's machine. He hasn't been around that long, but I tell you what, he's turned a few heads.
Certainly has that. What a head turn of this one, the BMW of Alfie Sorbello. The door slammers know how to turn it on.
Do they what? I've never seen a BMW look as good as that, I'll tell you. It's got wings and things.
Gratzy getting the guide back treatment that he's becoming famous for, Darryl.
Yeah, understand that. And really started on a shoestring budget, but he's come a long way from there. And Alf Sorbello, well, we haven't seen the BMW around too much this year.
This is its first full competition event. Beautiful car. The Sydney sider came back after a bad crash about 12 months ago, and what a way to come back.
So Gratz in the big red and yellow fella is going to take on Alf Sorbello from New South Wales in this extraordinary BMW.
Peter Gratz is the #1 qualifier in Top Door Slammer. Wants to go one better in the Winter Nationals, where he was runner-up.
Okay, coming to the line now, don't they sound something, these things? Wow. And when they light them up and get going, let me tell you, anything over 300 Ks, that's possible here. Okay, Gratz and Sorbello, BMW takes on the Chevy.
Cars carefully coming in.
Set. Here we go, Gratz gets away, the Chevy gets away. Oh, no contest, Peter Gratz just said catch me if you can, and Alf Sorbello, no chance. Look at the speed there, 3:32.86.
And 6.9 seconds. Peter Gratz looking strong. He looks like he wants to go on with it this weekend. Has had plenty of qualifying time like everybody. Sunday's fine, the racing's great. Top Door Slammer Eliminator really brings the crowd alive. Big smoky burnouts, that's what they like. Adam Nichols there in the Falcon. Now, Edwin Archbold in the Mustang. Very, very different configuration of cars. You have a look at Adam Nichols and you'd think without the supercharger poking through the bonnet, you'd expect to see it in a car park round the street. Edwin Archibald, high wing, the dragway Mustang. Very stout car, Nichols out in front. All of a sudden, the Mustang takes over big time. Edwin Archibald, 688, 321.86 kilometres an hour. His maiden win in this new Mustang. Great, great pass for Edwin. The dragway car doing everything perfect. Big Al Fountain now, one of the most popular men in Top Door Slammer, that's for sure. Gets the door open on the hot cargo utility to get some of that tyre smoke out. Lucky Baleri, the Commodore. He's got the support of all the Holden fans, but as I say, Al Fountain has done plenty in the Wild Bunch Racing and now in Top Door Slammer. Very popular man here at Eastern Creek Raceway. Top Door Slammer, an exhibition bracket at the grand finals this year, but from December on, it's all championship racing for these guys. Baleri, he qualified down the field a little bit, 4 and 5 with this pair. Al Fountain will be taking the battle right up to Lucky Baleri, there's no doubt about that. You'll hear the revs build as they bump in. Baleri with a problem, the Commodore goes nowhere. Al Fountain absolutely hauling down Eastern Creek, 736, 301 kilometres an hour. That's popular. The crowd just love these drivers.
Yeah, no doubt about that. They've all come out to play, and none better than this bloke or more famous. Victor Bray from Queensland up against Benny Gatt. They've faced off plenty of times. Watch this bloke light it up. Listen to the crowd come alive now. Aha, Victor Bray in the big Chevy. Is there a better sight in drag racing? I'm not sure there is.
Well, these guys love their burnouts. The crowd love them for it. And it's the oil war. We've got Castrol for Victor Bray and, of course, Corco for Benny Gatt. We got the Ford against the Chevy, and it's just head-to-head all the way. Queensland and New South Wales, Darryl.
Oh, it's a headbanger, this one. Let me tell you, Ford taking on the Chevy. Victor Bray, Benny Gatt. I wonder how many times they've faced off. Have a look as you look deep inside there.
I think you'd need a calculator to work out how many times these guys have raced each other. Look at this, the inside of Benny Gatt's car.
Now there's the office. Just explain some of those levers quickly.
He's running a Lenco transmission. The idea is that he'll put it in low gear, then he only has to pull the shifters in sequence. So he doesn't use the one gear stick each time. As he leaves the line, he'll pull the next gear and the next gear.
And here they go. Victor Bray, Benny Gatt. Oh, Benny Gatt comes back and look at this. Benny Gatt just flying down the track there, but Victor Bray cruises over.
The reason for this, Benny's left too soon. Victor had a problem, but Benny red-lighted. Victor's got out of jail.
Unbelievable. Victor Bray, let's have a look at this. There he's gone. And Victor Bray has gone, well, you're dead in the water, son. I'll just cruise down there.
Pro Stock Motorcycle #1 qualifier, Les Donnan on the Castrol Suzuki from Adelaide, South Australia. Absolutely streeted qualifying with a 7.73 to be 2/10 ahead of the #2.
And due to that fact, he gets the solo in the first round of Pro Stock Motorcycle. Leslie Donnan absolutely streets ahead of the rest of the competition. 7.73 in qualifying, 170 mile an hour. Screws the bike up off the start line. This looks like another great pass, Rob.
Really a little bit untidy off the start line, clicks it early. You could see him roll the throttle off at about 1,000 foot and runs a 9.35, 175 kilometres an hour. He's into the next round. He's not worried about it at this stage, as Clark Camp on the Ace Motorcycles Suzuki from Townsville gets set to take on Dennis Ackland.
These are the #4 and 5 qualifiers. Cam qualified with an 8.06, 161 miles an hour. Dennis Ackland and 8.10. Both bikes into stage, up on the limiters.
Away they go. Ackland looking good. Across the center line is Clark Camp, disqualified on the spot. Dennis Ackland will take the win, an 8.175. 158.79 miles an hour. He's got the win, and Clark Camp will be a pretty disappointed boy.
These Pro Stock motorcycles definitely getting a little bit untidy on the start line. The racetrack perhaps a little bit tricky in this early part of eliminations. ALLAN now and Igor Krasnowski, the flamboyant Kawasaki rider.
ALLAN from Queensland on the custom coating Suzuki's been left behind on the start line. Krasnowski, the Kawasaki jockey, he's got this one in the bag. 8094, 165.14 mile an hour, and ALLAN just a little bit late on the lights.
Rebecca Belbin now on the beautiful motorcycle up against the only Western Australian in the field, Ray Eason from Kalamunda in WA.
Yeah, the Kalamunda kid, they call him Ray Eason. Been round pro stock motorcycles since its inception. Has had a nasty crash in Adelaide at the Spring Nationals last year. He's recovered from that. Rebecca Bilbin, of course, 250cc production road racer, rides the bike well. Eason with miles of problems. Rebecca Bilbin across the line. 8.11, 163 mile an hour. I think that's her personal best.
Yeah, fantastic ride from her.
Dragsters, and more dragsters in round 2 of competition eliminator. Graham Porter from Queensland to take on the New South Welshman, Charles Van Isseldijk.
And I tell you what, this is going to be a big ask for Graham Porter. Van Isseldijk has been on the money. 750s from this A dragster. He is tough.
Both in the A dragster class. There will be no handicap. It's a heads-up start. Porter will try it on the lights.
Van Isseldijk gets out like a bullet. The car on an absolute mission. Porter with him to half track. I don't think he's going to be able to catch him.
Big hole shot for Porter, but Van Isseldijk with the win. A 754, 177 mile an hour. And Porter's crew know that Graham did all he could. A .44 light to a .69. He wasn't beaten by much.
Not at all. George Berklashev now ran a fantastic 4.01 on his solo pass earlier on. Would like to reproduce those sort of reaction times. He is up against Debbie Reed. Debbie in the supercharged small block dragster.
Yes, this Buick-headed small block, once upon a time, powered the Jack Brothers Statesman Wild Buncher. She's been rebuilt, freshened, and given a little bit more horsepower, and of course a lightweight chassis and a great jockey in the form of Debbie Reed. She's off and chasing. George is out in front. He's got a big lead. Here comes Debbie Reed. Drives it hard all the way. Say 690, 174 mile an hour, way under her index.
George did well as well on an 8.0. We move now to Bob Shepherd and Rick Layla. Shepherd in the double B funny car.
The only non-dragster in round 2 of competition eliminator. That's the way it pans out. Oh, Layla's out of the car. He's got a problem with a big block Chev-powered dragster. So Bob Shepherd will move to the semi-final. He'll be facing Debbie Reed when he gets there. Hey, that should be a hell of a race.
Oh, fantastic race. Battle of the supercharged vehicles. Shepherd, we should just expect him to launch the car hard, run it up through the gears and perhaps shut it off once he gets into top gear.
Oh, 4.03 reaction time. He'll want one of those in the next round, I'd suggest. Cruises it through for a 7.94. 4 New South Welshmen, 2 Queenslanders, 1 South Australian. That's who are left in round 2 of Superstock Eliminator. First out, though, it's 2 of the New South Wales team, Robert Burke and Daniel Stanek.
Robert Burke still lives in Superstock with the Eastern Creek Performance Centre, Tirana. He's got a big task up against this supercharged little animal, the ex-Lucky Valeri VN Commodore of Daniel Stanek.
This car's been running very, very hard in Double B gas eliminator, that's for sure. Fuel injected, supercharged, absolutely pumping out the horsepower. Burke running F gas, the index is a 10.5. He's getting 2.6 seconds handicap start. That's a long time to wait. Little engine, heavy car, gets out with a wheel set, red light behind him. Stanek's red lighted. Burke's got another win. They're going to call this guy the Giant Killer.
Oh, he's very lucky here today. Daniel Stanek, a great pass from him. 8.29 at 170 mile an hour, but it was all wasted. He threw it away on the start line. Sam Zenos now, the crowd loved this guy. Gets the front wheels a long way in the air.
So does Peter Thorpe. Thorpe in the Wilkie Engines Pontiac Trans Am. Very popular car here at Eastern Creek. Once again, it's the 2 New South Welshmen doing battle.
Yes, 10.35 index for for Sam Zenos, up against a 9.20 for Peter Thorpe.
Should be a good pass. Both cars capable of running under their respective national indexes. Wheels up launch for the Charger. Not quite as high. Thorpe missed a gear, I'd say. It didn't go into second too tidily. Look at this. Now it's Sam Zenos across the line. A 10.50, 128. 142 mile an hour charge from Thorpe, but it was all too late.
Yeah, you definitely saw Thorpe's car nose over there just short of the start line. Peter Michael and Lindsay Randall. Peter Michael, one of the real favourites for the championship in Superstock Eliminator, all the way from South Australia. That little 308 puts out a lot of horsepower.
The Cartronics car of Peter Michael, hot favourite now. And beside him is Lindsay Randall in the Craigar Performance Commodore from Queensland. Randall has run under the B-Gas index. Can he push Peter Michael here? Michael gets away and Randall's pushed the lights instead of his competitor. Red light for Lindsay Randall. Peter Michaels, he sees the win light at the end of the track, shuts it down to an 11.23 at just 85 miles an hour.
Well, here's the man that Peter Michael has been battling with throughout Superstock in the points race. David Tucker, another solo pass.
Well, Dave Tucker will step into the semi-finals with a solo. I would imagine he'll launch the car hard, but he won't drive it too fast through the traps. He'll be trying to protect that index in the Pacific Performance Camaro.
Bumps the car into stage, brings the revs up and launches it out hard, skips it up through the gears and then shuts it down.
Well, Dave Tucker, he's headed into the semi-final confrontation with Robert Burke. Peter Michaels will face Sam Zenos. That's the way it'll all shape up in Superstock semi-final when we get there a little later on in the program. They've come from the north, they've come from the south, they've come from everywhere for the Australian Drag Racing Series Grand Finals at Eastern Creek. Comp Bike Eliminator all the way from North Queensland, Ashley Taylor, and here beside him is Angelo Ganitis from Victoria.
Yes, the Victorian Angelo Ganitis has got a big ask up against Ashley Taylor. This 750 little two-stroke has been absolutely flying. 150 mile an hour performances from the motorcycle.
Clear number one qualifier in the sessions yesterday. Looking very, very strong. Angelo Ganitis can run under the C-Comp Bike Index of 8.7 seconds. Let's see what happens here. Taylor gets away clearly with his handicap. That two-stroke flies in the early part of the track, looks across, grabs top gear, gets the win there. A 9.23, 132 mile an hour. He's under the index by 0.2 of a second.
And still had a chance to roll the throttle off a bit there. We noticed him looking over to the right-hand side of the track to find out where Ganitis was. Michael Sargent now, the West Australian, up against Scott Lynch.
Scotty Lynch running a altered bike. Mick Sargent running a altered bike. Any difference in the handicaps? No, sirree. It'll be a heads-up race. The Western Australian to take on the Queenslander. No handicap, as I say. The greens come on together. Mick Sargent starting to show the way. Well, he's now bolting with it.
Only 100ths of a second between the two on the start line, but Sargent makes that look like a day and a half. 8.98 for the win at 120 miles per hour.
Well, nearly 0.2 under the index as well. Rhett Lockheed now running C Street Bike. He can do some damage to that 9.85 second index. He's getting half a second start from this man, John Parker, on the pushrod comp bike class Harley Davidson.
Parker, the only Harley Davidson left in the field, trying to show a little bit of Harley Davidson pride. Clean greens on both sides of the racetrack, a 6.05 to a 5.59. Parker with the whole shot, but he's not going to catch that Kawasaki.
Suri, not this time. 9.72 for Rhett Lockheed, 0.2 under. It'll be tough in the semi-finals.
Bob Sherry from South Australia. This man who took out Jim Reed can really spoil it for Graham Cowan, because if Cowan can win this, he wins his first ever Top Fuel Championship. There he is in the Rocket Industries car, but this is a very interesting matchup, because if Cowan loses to the South Australian, Jimmy Reed wins the title.
Well, all of a sudden, Jim Reed is a big Bob Sherry fan. He and the entire Winfield crew are wishing, hoping, and doing everything they can for Sherry to win this one.
The South Australian can really spoil the party here, Graham Cowan. looking for his first ever championship win. Remember, he is the fastest man in Australia. When he's on fire, let me tell you, the rocket really does do its stuff. And here they go. Oh, good start from both, but have a look at this Graham Cowan. He said, I want the championship. That's fine. And he's done it in fine style.
Well, have a look at that. Cowan came out and bolted. Identical reaction times. They left together. Cowan ran away, but I think he clicked it early.
And the family's down there too. I see one of his sons very, very happy. Let's have a look, because it was a weird sort of start, wasn't it?
Yes, the rocket ship got a little bit loose and then overpowered the track. Sherry coming back at him. It could have been anybody's.
Well, he had to win it. He had to drive his way to win it. There was no doubt about that. Graham Cowan had to fight that all the way.
Graham, congratulations, mate. Well done. 5.23, 222 mile an hour, Australian champion. Well done.
Oh, yeah, thanks very much. We calmed it down to get it down the track. You can see the tyres are blistered on the thing here, but I say thanks to the crew here, my kids, my wife, our sponsors, Rocket Industries, Shell Australia, Crane Cam, Snap-on Tools. Thank you very much. We're all champions together.
I'm not thinking about the final now, just got that out the way?
Mate, this will do us. We'll get the car ready for the finals, but, I mean, it really doesn't matter if we win. We won the championship, and it's bloody fantastic. Thanks very much.
Well done. Congratulations, mate.
Thank you.
Well, he's a happy man, Graham Cowan. Why wouldn't he be? His first major championship in that division. Well, Rochelle Splatt might have something to say about that, I think.
Well, Rochelle can't win the championship. That's all Graham Cowan's, but she can win the meeting, and she wants to do it on Australian soil. She won in Adelaide. Can she do it again?
Cool as ice. This lady just sits in the car. You saw the slow blink. Now, that gives you an idea of the harness. That's the 6-point harness that holds them in.
Yes, the safety requirements are absolutely paramount in drag racing, and Steve Reed in the Sandoz Cranes car knows all about that.
Well, Steve Reed's been in great form. I'll tell you what, if anybody can take it to Rochelle over this race, it's this guy. I mean, he's been a dark horse. He's knocked some beauties out. He's turned in the times, and the car's been running beautifully.
Steve made his name in alcohol, and since he's moved into this top fuel team of Santo Rapasadas, the whole thing has just clicked. It's one of those teams you know are going places. They're going to be a big threat in next year's championship.
Yeah, very hungry, the whole team. Away they go. Rochelle Splatt. Reed, oh, look at the smoke coming out of Reed's car. He lights it up again and tails it down to the line. That's going to be one of the most unbelievable drives I've seen.
What happened there? Rochelle's red lighted. Steve Reed didn't know. The crew can't believe it.
What about that? Not the way you wanted to get through, but you've done it through to the final.
Yeah, it wasn't quite what we were looking for, but we had to put a new clutch in and a motor combination, and it was something we wanted to try, and we calmed it down enough to get down there next round. At least we got a baseline now.
Now a couple of hours work again?
Yeah, a couple hours, and I think we'll be right there looking for Cowan.
Good luck on the final.
Thank you very much.
That was the American Glenn Micros. Look at Rochelle Splatt. She shattered. She didn't know. And I'll tell you what, Steve Reed, that could have been quite dangerous because he buttoned off and then he just flattened it again.
Well, he saw that Rochelle had a problem and was shutting off, and he went hard.
Hard as it may seem to understand that, we're back with top alcohol, and we've got Gary Phillips and John Noonan lining up here, and the Top Gun car of John Noonan. Big burnout from him. And I tell you what, this action, Rob, over this particular meeting with all the controversy and the weather has just been unbelievable.
Well, it's been one of the longest drag race meetings I've ever been at, Darryl. We've had day 1, 2, 3. We're into day 4 now. The championship is what this guy wanted, Gary Phillips, and he's got it. He's wrapped it up. He wants to finish the meeting on a high now, the season for him with the car. He wants the event, but he's already the Australian champion.
So, Gary Phillips, he takes our congratulations back to Queensland. John Noonan from Queensland would probably like to say, well, you got the championship, but I'm going to take the meeting. We've been here long enough. Okay, set now. Noonan and Phillips, the two Queenslanders. This is the top alcohol division. Here we go. Good even start, both get away, but the Top Gun car just powers now. They came out of the box all right, but John Noonan said, you can have the championship, I'm taking the meeting.
Good run. A 6-1-1 from John Noonan. And I've got to say, this is the first time this season I've seen Gary Phillips with an Achilles heel. He's got a problem in that car. The car is shut off. John Noonan drives away with it.
Yeah, well, I suppose if you're going to have a problem, now's the time to have it after you won the championship. All right, on the line is Steve Reed. He's got to make a solo run. Away he goes because Steve Harker, of course, had the big crash earlier on in the meeting. So Steve Reed does a solo run. There are the stats, and he'd be pretty happy about that. Bad luck, though, for Steve Harker.
This is Pro Stock semi-final. Bruce Leak, 94 champion. He wants this one.
Yeah, smokes it up, Leak, and did a good job of that. It took a while for them to get hot. When they did, whoa, they smoked a bit. And we've got John O'Carney, it is, from Queensland.
This is John's first race in Pro Stock. He's been trying to qualify all year. The man's got the persistence of Job, and he's made it. He got past the top qualifier in the first round. Here he is up against last year's championship winner in the semi-final.
Gee, good time for him, isn't it? Exciting times.
The Super Winch car just looks absolutely beautiful, Darryl.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? That's a credit to them. A great colour scheme, well turned out. Right, Leak, O'Carney, New South Wales taking on Queensland. That's the way we're looking at Leak now. Leak gets out. Oh, O'Carney coming back. Oh, this is a street fight. This one, ding dong battle, but I think Leak gets. Leak on the line, just got it. But I tell you what, O'Carney took it to him.
Well, Bruce Leak got out strongly. O'Carney was right with him all the way down the track. Look at that there, door to door in Pro Stock. Then all of a sudden, the big top speed of Bruce Leak, he ran 10 kilometres an hour quicker. That won it for him.
Tony Wedlock from Queensland will take on Rob Quattrocchi from South Australia. There's Wedlock in another beautiful, well, they're all beautifully turned out cars. I've said it all through the season. I just think these cars are such a credit to them.
Well, the situation here, you see Pro 2 on the side of Tony Wedlock's car. The championship has been won. That's done. Peter Ridgway's that. But second position and all the money's up for grabs. Quattrocchi could do it. Bruce Leak could do it. We've already seen him. Wedlock could do it. There's still 3 races in it. This race will determine whether Tony Wedlock can keep that number 2 or not.
Yeah, important round. They've all been important right throughout the day. Been terrific racing here at Eastern Creek. Wedlock now. Quattrocchi from South Australia and the Queenslander.
Little bit of a staging duel going on. Wedlock taking his time. He knows how long he's got. He's making Quattrocchi wait. Rob went in early. The Queenslander's in.
Here we go. Away they go. Quattrocchi is it? I don't know. Wedlock now. Quattrocchi comes back. Oh, what about these cars? Do they turn it on? Side by side, Quattrocchi. And I reckon by just about the smallest margin.
They left together. They stayed together. Quattrocchi maybe a slight advantage off the start line. Tony Wedlock coming back at him. They're going to hit the line, and the clocks tell us 5 thousandths of a second. The win for Rob Quattrocchi.
Ah, amazing stuff as we go back and look at the crew. You couldn't pick it from our vantage point. They just went out and hammer and tong.
Well, the Top Fuel motorcycles are back, Darryl, and here's this man, Gavin Spann, with a nitrous oxide Suzuki.
This Suzuki is something else, isn't it? Have a look at it, light it up. I reckon Kevin Swanson would love to do this. Could you imagine Swans on this thing?
Now, the story with this bike, it is for sale, $25,000. To start from scratch to get a bike like this, you're talking $60,000. Just watch him go on the top bikes.
Rear shot of Gavin Spann from Queensland. Look at the size of it. Wait a minute, Peter Allen, this is not a handicap event. He's just left it. No good looking down, son, because Spann's just gone past you. I can't believe how early he left.
He left before the switch was thrown. He must have had some sort of problem on the Pennzoil bike. Gavin Spann's into the final. Look at that.
Well, he's gone. Spann just sits there nice and cool. And he started to look down immediately. So there he is now, looking down immediately. Got a problem.
Well, Kerry Ellis now on the Kawasaki. Can we see 2 nitrous bikes into the final?
Taking on Dave McClurg with the supercharged Honda. And this should be a terrific match-up, this one. There's the Honda getting backed up now, Dave McClurg.
They call this bike the Dinosaur because it's big, it's heavy, it's old, but it's awesome.
Yeah, it's got plenty of hoochie-cooch. And he doesn't mind driving it that way either, or riding it, I should say. So Ellis and McClurg, 2 Queenslanders. The rear tyres on those things are just amazing. But watch the body language when they get going on the bikes. They really have to offset themselves to keep the things in a straight line. And just watch what they do with their feet. Kawasaki, Honda, away they go. The Kawasaki gets away. Honda comes back. I think there's been a red line, but we won't worry about that at the moment. Have a look at the body language. Have a look at the body language on McClure I talked about. Ellis gets the cash.
Yeah, the red light has cost McClurg the money. Look at him leave. He is already working on that bike, moving the body around. It's all wasted with a red light, but he's had to work hard all the way down the strip.
Yeah, working hard down on the grid too is 1, 2, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock rock. We got some rock and roll. Why? Because the door slammers are coming out pretty shortly. Now, I think that's Al Fountain's son there. Yeah, I'm sure it is, with his girlfriend. And he's just getting in the mood for his old man. And there's the old man, Al Fountain from New South Wales in the awesome, the Ute.
He's done a big burnout, gets the door open early to get the smoke out there. Peter Gratz doesn't mind smoking them up himself.
Peter Gratz lays the rubber down thick, and it's nice and smelly, and the crowd love it. And this girl's been on fire for most of the day, and she'll back him up too. So Gratzy, looking good.
Oh, looking fantastic. Not only has the car been doing the job, the show's been fantastic. The crowd just absolutely love it, and they really get involved with it.
Look at the work of this utility. Have a listen to the sound of it.
That's the sound of probably 1,800, 2,000 horsepower under the foot for Al Fountain. He's up against one of the hard chargers, the top qualifier, Peter Yahoo Gratz.
Yeah, not a bad nickname, is it? Yahoo. Comes from the Gold Coast area too.
Yes, lives and works down there on the Gold Coast, enjoys the sunshine, but likes his drag racing better.
All right, so Peter Gratz in the Chevy takes on Al Fountain from New South Wales in the Ute, the Ford Ute. So it's that old confrontation. Once again, Ford taking on the Chevy-powered cars. Here we go. Gratz both get away nicely. Gratz puts the foot through the firewall. And the big Chev is full of red today. Peter Gratz gets the Chevy cocked up and firing.
And a 6. Look at that. It was a strong one, a 6.68. That's the quickest so far this weekend. What a run for Gratz. He looks like he is so determined at the grand finals.
Well, there they go down the line, and baby, you can feel happy about what you've done today. You've made us feel happy with what you've done today. All right, Victor Bray, out he comes in the big black beast, the Castrol machine. He'll take on Edwin Archibald from New South Wales. Victor Bray, tell me a better smoke artist than this guy. Whoa!
Victor Bray's got a reputation for laying down the thick smoke screens, and he's done another one. Brand new car this side of the track, this beautiful Mustang of Edwin Archibald's, his first meeting in Top Door Slammer.
They just get better and better, these cars.
This car has got everything you'd find in a top alcohol funny car. The engine, 540 cubic inches, 2,200 horsepower. He's dropped it into a family sedan, would you believe? This is why they call them Top Door Slammers.
No doubt about it. Edwin Archibald from New South Wales takes on, well, Queensland's favourite son in this sport, Victor Bray. And have a look at the angles of these cars. Look at the work in the bodywork. Have a look at the size of the rubber on them. And, of course, the engines, the horsepower. They are something else. And I'll tell you what, the drivers know, too. They really turn it on for the fans. Archibald against Bray. Bray's just about unbeatable on most times and most courses. Here he goes. And that's the reason why. Oh, but no, Archibald comes back. But Big Victor is the victor there. And Victor Bray's done it again. Oh, how can you beat this guy?
Well, he's run a 6.94, Archibald a 6.93, but have a look at that. Bray moved way earlier than Edwin Archibald. Edwin was late on the lights.
But Victor Bray, you never give him an inch because he'll take 3 metres off you, and that's what he's done there.
Pro Stock Motorcycle semi-final time. Dennis Ackland from Victoria burns out across the line. He'll be taking on this man, number 1 qualifier, Les Donnan on the Castrol Suzuki.
Les Donnan has been Mr. Unbeatable throughout Pro Stock Motorcycle throughout the season. Has already wrapped up the championship coming into the grand finals. Let's see how he goes up against Ackland. Both riders preparing to edge their machines into stage. Come up on the rev limiters.
And Donnan gone nowhere. Stepped off the bike on the start line. Dennis Ackland running down the Eastern Creek quarter, 8.32, 160.09. Looks around and says, yes, Les Donnan, He's nowhere, walks away from the bike, leaves it to his crew. Not a very happy camper.
Definitely not impressed at all. Igor Krasnowski and Rebecca Belbin. Krasnowski there on the Kawasaki, some 1,428 cc's, a lot larger engines that you find in the than you find in the Suzuki's, Rob.
That's certainly it. The Kawasaki's running a 2-valve per cylinder head. The Suzuki's a 4-valve per cylinder head. As a result, the Kawasaki's are allowed a weight brake capacity advantage. Rebecca Belbin there we saw in the Suzuki, very attractive girl that rides this bike hard, also goes road racing, a great talent.
Both bikes on the limiter, a pair of clean greens. Belbin a little bit untidy, goes towards the wall, hanging on to Krasnowski. I don't think she's going to beat him though.
8.009, 166.17 mile an hour for Kanowski, sets up the meeting with Ackland. Round 3 of Supergas, the 990 fixed index class. Anything quicker than that's a breakout. It won't matter to Des Wollstonecroft though, he's got the solo run.
Car launches nice and cleanly, very, very straight pass. This is an absolutely immaculately turned out car of Des Wollstonecroft. Got to run 990. What does he come up with? A 995 at 140 miles an hour.
Well, the Victorians very strong in Supergas, and here's another pair of them. Rob Azzopardi in the Ford-powered Mazda, and Hugo Di Gianvincenzo in the big block Chevy-powered Statesman.
Both of these cars immaculately turned out. Plenty of presentation in Supergas, as we've seen throughout the rounds.
Plenty of revs on the line as the party's in. Now comes Hugo. Hugo gets out with a 4.3 light, a 4.8 for Azzopardi, but the Mazda's coming right at him.
The RX-7, I think, will get there first. Fantastic pass from Azzopardi. A 9.905. That's where you want to be.
Well, it's all Victoria in the in round 3 of Supergas already. Craig Geddes to take on Sam Strano. Geddes on screen now in the Chimera. It's the 2 White Knights of Supergas, I guess. Sam Strano in the HB Tirana.
A full field of Holdens and one Mazda survived in round 3 of Supergas Eliminator. Both competitors going into stage now. Strano, far of screen in the Tirana. Geddes in the Chimera. Wells up from Strano.
Craig Geddes has got a big top end. He starts to chase in the second half of the racetrack. Here comes Geddes. They're both broken out, but Geddes gets it with the least of the double breakout.
Back with the 3rd round of modified eliminator, and the dragsters once again surviving well. Mark Mitchell up against Rob Millett.
Yeah, Bob Millett down from Queensland. The fuel-injected small block Chevy-powered T-bucket has been running extremely well. 892 is his index, 896 for Mark Mitchell. Only 400's handicap. You picked that one.
A 4.2 light for Bob Millett on the start line. That should be enough to hold out Mitchell. The dragster tries hard. It's so close. Bob Millett gets there with a 9.01, 144 miles an hour.
Well, the Queenslanders are strong in modified like the Victorians are in Supergas. John Sting and Glenn Gregson now 2 more of the banana benders, and John Sting a real chance of the Australian Championship here this weekend.
Sting with a small block Chev for motivation. Gregson a rather unusual combination. A 460 big block Ford powering the altered.
Well, he's dialed in at 10.12 seconds. He's going to get 1.9 seconds handicap start from John Sting. This dragster has been like clockwork through the northern season. Let's see how he goes here at the grand finals.
Cars into stage, you can hear them bouncing off their rev limiters. The Altered gets a little bit of a bounce up. Now the dragster starts to chase, and it is a big chase. A long way back is John Sting, and he comes around, and that was fantastic. 8.29 for the win, 151 miles per hour.
Not much in that one, that's for sure. This racing has been close. Now still with the Queenslanders. Russell Schaefer in the yellow front-engine dragster, but the New South Welshman in to try and challenge is Darry McKelvey in this beautiful rear-engine car.
Better of the yellow dragsters, of course, one with a front-engine fuel-injected Windsor, the other a carburetted small block Chevrolet.
0.48 of a second handicap start going to Russell Schaefer. on the near side of the screen.
9.76 races 9.28. Here comes McKelvey. Schaefer's out in front. I think it's going to stay that way.
Schaefer hanging on. McKelvey comes at him. Schaefer by 27 thousandths of a second across the line. The racing is still oh so close in modified.
Well, what a lucky man is Alan White. Gets the solo pass in the third round of modified eliminator. Quite a good place to have it too.
Yes, he'll be the sole New South Welshman in the semi-finals in modified, and it's a case of one Victorian, two Queenslanders, one New South Welshman in the Battle of the States when they go into the next round of modified eliminator.
Stops the clocks at a 9.66, and we'll see Alan back for the final four.
A supercharged burnout for Super Sedan Eliminator round 3. Terry Aglin in the envelope specialist supercharged Camaro for the New South Welshman.
In beside him, one of the stronger competitors in Super Sedan Eliminator, Graham Cooper, the bricklayer, launches his way towards the stage beam.
Well, this is a battle of Australian champions. Terry Aglin, the defending champion, he won the title in 1994. And of course, Graham Cooper's won it 2 or 3 times and is in the running to do it again this year.
There's a big handicap difference between these two competitors of nearly 2 seconds. That'll put a lot of pressure on Aglin, who has to wait on the start line.
And it's always hard to wait for Graham. Oh, you picked it. He couldn't wait for Graham Cooper. He's left by 100th of a second too soon. Graham Cooper in the bricklayer will get the win. 10.75, 124 miles an hour. Takes one step closer to regaining that #1 plate on the side of his car.
Oh, disappointing for Aglin. 8.68 on an 8.68 as we continue with Ian Nielsen now and Dennis Moreau. I tell you what, this Alpha's made it a fair way through Super Sedan.
Going well. He's in round 3 and still fighting. Ian Nielsen, big block Chevy-powered Tirana down from Queensland. Dials in at 9.92. And it comes down to the fact that, well, Moreau at 10.40 will get 0.48 of a second handicap start.
Moreau to leave first. The Alpha will get out in front. Then the Tirana will have to chase him down. Rather unusual looking car, especially for the sport of drag racing, but has got it to work quite well here today. Both cars in the stage.
Ian Nielsen in the Tirana, obvious assistance from Jack Brothers Engineering. Moreau red lights this time. The fouls are coming thick and fast. A 2.96 red light is way early. Ian Nielsen will get the win here. Tests his dial in big time. A 9.90 is under, but a breakout doesn't matter when you've got a red light against you.
The Torco Racing Oils 57 Chevrolet still lives in Super Sedan, has made its way this far. He'll do battle up against
Graham Kennedy we've got from Western Australia. The Capri that's, well, one of the contenders for the long distance award, I would suggest. He's getting 0.5 of a second start. Wants the championship. If he can go this round, he and Cooper will still be fighting it out. He's looking good. A fairway out in front. There comes MICALI. I don't think he can catch him. Ah, would you believe it? A breakout by 17 thousandths of a second for Kennedy. Charlie MICALI was let off the hook.
Fantastic run for MICALI. A lot of luck on his side there as we continue with Dean Sweeney now. Good to see the street cars made it so far into Super Sedan Eliminator. He's up against David Goldie. This man's got a lot of luck on his side after his disastrous effort in 94.
A lot of luck and a lot of hard work, that's for sure. David Goldie with the assistance of a lot of small sponsors like you see on the front of the car, Steve Bailey, Custom Pipes, etc. They all chipped in to get the Pacific Performance Racer back on the track, and he's doing pretty well in Super Sedan. Gets out with a 4.62 light. Sweeney was better with a 4.55. Can Sweeney get to him? No. David Goldie a 10.95, 112 mile an hour win in Super Sedan.
Fred Cameron's place opens up round 3 of modified bike eliminator. He's in beside a very tough customer, Alan Bleasner.
Yeah, Bleasner for Team Army Racing, and well, there's plenty of the camis out there, the camouflage gear for the crew. Fred Cameron dials in at 11.30. He's getting, oh, big one, 1.5 seconds, 2.5 seconds handicap start from Bleasner. So once again, this is going to be one of those big chases. Can Bleasner handle the pressure?
That is a fantastically large handicap. There's going to be a lot of anxiety on the start line. Bleasner's got to hang out. Cameron's away. The bike starts to march. Bleasner holds his cool. Kid gets a green light on the Christmas tree.
He's chasing, he's trying, he's chasing. He won't catch him. Oh, he didn't need to. Cameron broke out by 47 thousandths of a second. Bleasner's 8.92 at 1:45 is good enough for the win.
The Queenslander Trevor Sage on screen now has made it this far, but he's up against Stephen Hooker. Hooker, the New South Welshman, a strong competitor, rolls his bike forward.
Giving away 0.16 of a second. That's the situation here. Look at those pictures, the reflection down the Eastern Creek start line. Trevor Sage to do the chasing. They're in there and, whoa, Hooker. Hooker's left. Sage is on the start line, but Hooker, I think Hooker's gone too soon. And Sage is actually the winner. Hooker's gone before the lights, and Trevor Sage, a 10.19, gets the win.
Yeah, Hooker a little bit untidy on the start line, missed the lights, and Sage very lucky to come up with a win there. George Demopoulos now and Jason Lee. Lee dialed in with a 9.20 up against a 9.72 for Demopoulos.
Yeah, 0.52 of a second handicap start. Jason Lee bringing the bike in very, very carefully. George Demopoulos, pretty, well, a lot of backing for him here at Eastern Creek. Does a lot of racing at the Sydney track.
Beautiful Kawasaki Ninja for Jason Lee. Both bikes into stage. Demopoulos gets away cleanly, as does Lee.
The South Australian chasing hard, but he's got to catch a 4.03 light from Demopoulos. I'm not sure he can do it. No, the Sydney side are 9.80 and a great victory in modified bike.
Peter Hatsy George loves his street racing in his Ford Capri. GTHO 4V is the plate. It's a 351 Cleveland. He's up against the 289 Windsor-powered Cortina of the Bear.
It's a pretty new car, Nathan. We haven't seen it too often.
No, I think this is its first ever race meeting, as a matter of fact, and it's made it this far. The fourth round of Super Street Eliminator at the 95 Australian Drag Racing Series Grand Finals.
And the rookie, John Summers, giving away 0.08 of a second to Hatza Giorgio, who's done a lot of racing here. And a start line advantage to the Cortina, and he's converting that, starting to drive away. Here comes Hatza Giorgio, putting some pressure back on him. For John Summers, an 11.09, 111.80 mile an hour. I tell you what, he's in the semi-final at his first race meeting with the car.
Oh, fantastic effort. It is a really tidy combination, very consistent. Speaking of tidy and consistent, Juan Kudnik, the number one in Super Street, has been for a long time and probably plans to stay that way. He is up against Warwick Curry. Curry's in the V8 Ford-powered Escort.
And they're both dialed in at 11.33 seconds. There will be no handicap in this race. Juan Kudnik, the Australian champion, wants it again. He uses a lot of his own technology in the car in the regarding of judging the upcoming dial-in. Look at that, it's a little bit of shrapnel or something on the line that Juan Kudnik has spotted and said, can we have that out of the way before I run? He is really a case of knows the car's potential, knows what it can run in the next round of racing, spends a lot of time studying it and working out just what his dial-in should be.
Well, the ANDRA officials and the Eastern Creek safety crew doing a quick and good job of clearing the start line. Looks as though Kudnik is going to get another chance for a burnout, as does Curry.
Well, the guys, it shows the experience of Juan Kudnik. If he spotted that, he would say, well, if it's under the tyres, I'll turn the tyres. It will affect my performance against the dial-in. 11.33 is that mark for both sides of the tree. They've come out with Juan Kudnik enjoying an 0.08 of a second hole shot.
Well, it's pretty much equal side-by-side stuff. Kudnik stretches that lead a little bit towards the finishing line and picks up the win, 11.40 at 107 miles per hour.
Super Street Eliminator continues with Chris Hillman with this beautiful Commodore Ute. We've talked about it a few times, put together at Andrews Race Cars, and really is a credit to Chris, Rod Andrews, and the bracket of Super Street Eliminator.
Gary Rowling in street registered Capri, also fantastic to see him make it this far throughout eliminations. He's got a Windsor in the front of the Capri. Nice tidy car. competes at nearly every single one of our race meetings here at Eastern Creek. And he has thrown it away with a red light.
He was to get 0.15 of a second handicap start, but he tried a little bit too hard and red lighted by 9,000ths of a second. Chris Hillman will go into the next round of Super Street Eliminator. Semi-final time at the Grand Finals for 1995. Competition Eliminator is the first one to come at us, and it's Charles Van Isseldijk, #1 qualifier. He's got through to the semi, and he's got a solo, so I guess he's going to be a finalist.
Yeah, this is a fantastic for Charles. Gets the bye run and the automatic move into the final, and he's got a good chance of taking that out as well. He'll meet either Bob Shepherd or Debbie Reed. That battle's coming up very, very shortly. In the meantime, the solo pass, he'll launch the car, probably drive it to half, maybe three-quarter track, and we should expect him to shut it down.
Yes, his index started at a 780. It's now down to a 767, so he's dropped it by 1300ths, but that's not a real lot compared to, well, Debbie Reed and Bob Shepherd. They've been knocking their indexes around, and now they've got to race each other. You know this will be a tough race. You know they can both still run under their indexes. There's only going to be 1/100th of a second handicap start in it, and it goes to that lady on screen, Debbie Reed.
Well, this is going to be an absolutely fantastic battle. A pair of supercharged cars, a small block in the dragster, a big block in the funny car, both of them capable of 6-second, 200-mile-an-hour performances. This is going to be brilliant. It's going to come down to who's going to be willing to back off first. They want to save their indexes. However, they know that they're going to be side by side.
Fantastic pairing. Oh, great 4:09 reaction time for Debbie Reed. Shepherd's in trouble. He'll need a big speed. Can't do it. A 6:85 for Reed beats a 6:91 for Shepherd. Super Stock Eliminator in the championship battle is still well and truly on. Dave Tucker in the Pacific Performance Camaro to take on Robert Burke in this round. Peter Michael against Sam Zenos in the other semi-final. And of course the championship battle is between Tucker and Michael.
Tucker had a bye in his last round of eliminations, but this time he's up against the man with a lot of luck, Robert Burke for Eastern Creek Performance Centre. Burke's running on F-Gas index of 10.50. Tucker a 9.60. I think Tucker might have to push that index a little bit, Rob.
Well, he's got a lot of performance advantage over Burke. We know that. He should be able to take it easy on the lights and maybe cruise past. Easy. A 4:17 reaction time for Tucker. Boy, he's pushed his luck. Drives straight past Burke. He'll save his index here. Oh, cruising it, and still runs 9.75. Only 0.15 over his index.
Yeah, coasting at only 124 miles an hour as well. Here's the man that's in the race for the championship with him, Peter Michael from South Australia. Michael's got to get by Zenos yet, though.
Comes down to this. If Peter Michael wins this race, he wins the championship. Tucker is currently second in the points. Needs to go, I think, 2 rounds of racing more than Peter Michaels to win it. So it's Sam Zenos that will have all the support of the Tucker team. Will standing away from the line. He's in front. Peter Michael coming at him. Door by door, this is close. It's no walkover for Michael, but he'll get it by a car length.
10.25 at 118 miles an hour, and they'll see each other in the final.
Well, making their first appearance on the Grand Finals video, the Junior Dragsters. Turning the tyres there is the car of Daniel Concoli's. Comes down to this. These cars are powered by what start as 5 horsepower, single cylinder, 4-stroke rather, lawnmower motors. Then they get hot rodded. There's kids in these things from 8 to 16-year-old. And believe me, they are a lot quicker than you realise, particularly when there's just an 8-year-old in it. Rick Dudek on screen now. He was the #1 qualifier. It's on Dyura, and Daniel Concoli gets out first. Here comes Rick Dudek, and that's a big handicap start.
Oh, it is a huge handicap start. It's going to have to be a big top-end charge from Dudek. There's quite a difference between the two cars at half-track, but now Dudek starts to come on strong. We just saw the anxious look from the fathers. Who's it going to be?
Close finish. Dudek gets the win, 20.73 seconds, 90.23 kilometres an hour. You put an 8 or 9-year-old in one of these cars doing 90 kilometres an hour, I'm sure that it'd get their attention.
Oh, you're definitely going to know about it, that's for sure. Stephen Bush from Borkham Hills in New South Wales has got his beautiful little junior dragster on a solo pass. is lucky enough to get the solo because he automatically moves to the final after this race.
That's the way it works, and of course the families take a great delight in hot rodding these things and trying to get them as quick as possible. Running over a quarter mile, hasn't been as quick as Dudek, but he'll meet him in the final. 23 seconds at 85 Ks.
Semi-final time of competition motorcycle, and it's Ashley Taylor with the solo.
Yes, he was the #1 qualifier, way under his index, and he's been very, very good at trying to protect that ever since. His index now a 9.35. Where did it start? A 9.48. So he hasn't dropped it by too much at all. This is a solo for the semi-final. Does he have to push it? Not at all. But it comes down to just how quick he wants to run it. Gets out of the line hard. You can see the tyre squatting on the rear of that bike. Now clicks it off, goes for the brakes. Still runs 9.91 seconds at 76 miles an hour.
Boy, it doesn't look like an easy bike to ride either though, Robin. He'll be in the final. He'll meet either this man, Michael Sargent, or Rhett Lockheed. Lockheed on screen now in this beautifully turned out Kawasaki.
And of course, Mick Sargent all the way from Western Australia trying to make the final of the Australian Drag Racing Series Grand Finals.
The difference between the indexes here, a 906 up against a 978. We know that Lockheed can run a long way underneath that.
A 5.60 to a 5.61 reaction time. It's even on the start line. Comes down to a horsepower race. Lockheed's got it 9.41, 150 mile an hour to move to the final. Well, in the semi-final of Modified Eliminator, it's 3 Queenslanders and a New South Welshman. John Sting to take on Bob Millett first. 2 of the banana benders doing battle. It's John Sting in the dragster from St. George in Western Queensland. Bob Millett all the way from Mooloolaba on the Sunshine Coast.
Altered versus dragsters. The dragsters have survived pretty well, but they're starting to get pushed out of the elimination field. Can Bob Millett do the same thing to John Sting? Both competitors starting to make their way into stage.
0.67 of a second handicap start going to Bobby Millett. He'll get the lead off the start line. Revs are right up. Oh, red light for Bob Millett. He's out of it now. John Sting, well, he's one more race away from an Australian Championship at the moment. John Sting with an 8.31, 158 mile an hour. He moves to the final of Modified.
And he will meet either Alan White, who's on screen now, or Russell Schaefer. We had an Altered versus a dragster in the first semi-final. Once again, Altered versus dragster. Schaefer with the front-engine Windsor-powered car.
And of course, Alan White, the New South Welshman, in the small block Chevy-powered T-bucket. Well, it comes down to this. John Sting is in the final. Russell Schaefer, if he goes to the final, it'll be the last race that determines the championship. If White could have beaten Schaefer, Sting would have been the champion, but Alan White has just red-lighted, so Russell Schaefer will go to the final, a 9.79. He gets to fight for the championship in the last race of the year.
The semi-final time of Super Sedan Eliminator, and it's Ian Nielsen in the Tirana up against Graham Cooper. Cooper has been absolutely on fire throughout all the rounds of eliminations, and Nielsen's definitely got a lot of work on his hands.
Well, not only that, Graham Cooper, when Graham Kennedy went out in the last round of Super Sedan, Graham Cooper became the Australian champion for 1995. If he loses here, he's still the champion, but oh boy, I know this much about Cooper. He loves the win, he loves the trophies, and he likes the prize money.
989 races at 10.74. Cooper to leave first, and he's left too early. A red light for Graham Cooper. He's gone out, he's still the Australian champion, and Ian Nielsen will go to the final.
Well, I've hexed him. I've said if he loses here, he's still the champion, and he's gone and done it on me. But I don't think Graham Cooper will be that disappointed. He's got his #1 back. Now David Goldie, the Queenslander and the Pacific Performance Kingswood, up against Charlie McCarley in the Torco car from New South Wales.
Yeah, McCarley's done a fantastic drive job in this 57 Chevrolet. Powered by a big block Chev, they've really squeezed some extra horsepower out of the car, getting it to launch very hard off the start line.
1.1 seconds handicap start is in it. Goldie to get that lead, McCarley to do the chasing. We've seen some red lights, we've seen some pressure. It's green, we've got a race this time.
The 57's got a big chase on its hands. I don't know whether they can catch Goldie. Here comes the Taco car. It's in front. Breakout too quick. A 9.69, and David Gawley goes to the final.
3 Victorians left in the field fighting for a place in the Super Gas final. Craig Geddes and Des Wollstonecroft have to fight for it, as a party will have a bye run.
2 Holdens and 1 Mazda, and the 2 Holdens are about to eliminate each other. Des Wollstonecroft, this beautiful VR Commodore, up against Craig Geddes in the Chimera.
Well, what a battle this is. The plain white Chimera, not too plain under that skin though. Plenty of technology, plenty of horsepower. A 4.4 light for Geddes. Wollstonecroft for 5.5. He's in trouble. Geddes out in front. Here comes Wollstonecroft. Geddes 9.901, almost a perfect Super Gas pass.
Fantastic stuff from Craig Geddes. That's what's got him to the final of Super Gas Eliminator. He's going to meet this man, Robert Azzopardi. Azzopardi has the solo. Rob, is he going to elect to make the pass?
Well, yes, there's a bit of contention about that. All he has to do to complete the pass is go in and stage. He's just driven forward. That satisfies the rules. There's little time between now and the final. We're really pushing the schedule here at Eastern Creek. We've had rain yesterday. It could threaten again at any time, I guess. So Azzopardi's elected to just stage, comply with the minimum requirements of the rule, and he'll come back for the final later. Modified bike started with a big field. It's come down to 3 looking for a spot in the final. One of those is Trevor Sage from Queensland. Here he is on screen at the moment with his bike. Another is Alan Bleasner.
Yes, Bleasner in the Team Army colours. Both bikes into stage. This is for a spot in the final. They'll be up against George Demopoulos. Green light for Sage, but not the case for Alan Bleasner. A red light by 5 thousandths of a second, and Trevor Sage gets the win. 10.17 at 125 miles per hour.
Just 200ths of a second over his dial-in. He's looking strong going into the final. George Demopoulos will be there with him. He's got a bye run. The New South Welshman, he's dialed in at 9.70. Looks like he's going to ride it through. He's got every intention of testing that dial-in, I'd suggest.
Yeah, modified bike eliminator, a dial your own category, and he'll take this opportunity to ride the bike as hard as he possibly can. Tests that 9.70 dialing. A 4.2 light's pretty sharp. He'll want to reproduce that for the final. Gets down over the tank, makes himself nice and slipstream, runs the bike through, stops the clocks at a 9.89 to move to the final.
Here at the 95 Grand Finals, we have one semi-final left, and it's Super Street Eliminator. Once more, it's down to 3 competitors looking for a spot in the final. John Summers and Christopher Hillman are 2 of those, the 2 New South Welshmen to do battle now, and there isn't too much in it. Just 0.18 of a second handicap start going to Chris Hillman in the Commodore Ute.
And what a dream run it has been for the Bear as well. Can he make his first ever final at his first race meeting? And what a race to do it to, the Grand Finals. Chris Hillman in beside him is going to have a lot to say about that. Hillman wants to be there as well. He's not going to catch the Bear though. The Cordy gets there first at 11.08 at 111 miles an hour to be in the final. And he will meet this man, Juan Kudnig.
Well, Kudnig has been almost unbeatable in Super Street Eliminator this year. He's raced obviously extensively at Willowbank Raceway. He's raced in North Queensland. He's raced here at Eastern Creek, at Adelaide International Raceway, at Calder Park. He has been everywhere in Super Street Eliminator to defend his number 1. He won't give it away easily. Dialed in at 11.33. Let's have a look and see what he runs here. He'll test his dial in. He needs to see whether he needs to adjust it for the final. And 11.32 is 100th of a second under. Junior dragster final, the first final of the day. Rick Dudek to take on Stephen Bush. There's Dudek. He was the number 1 qualifier. I think he's only been racing for about 3 months.
Yeah, he's definitely a newcomer to the sport of drag racing. I think you could call all of these competitors rookies.
Stephen Bush has been racing the GB driveway cars a while. Been pretty experienced actually. He's probably done about a dozen race meetings.
Definitely is experienced when it comes to junior dragster. We have got a race on our hands, a pair of clean greens. This is fantastic. Stephen Bush is out in front. Look at the gap between those two. Dudek's got to catch him.
Dudek's got a big chase on his hands. I'm not sure he can catch Bush. Oh, he's closing, he's closing. Have a look at it. Dudek's driven right around him. 21.01, 70.89 kilometres an hour for the win.
Super Gas final time, and it's come down to Mazda versus Holden. Rob has a party in this Cleveland-powered RX-7 up against Craig Geddes, the Victorians in the final.
And this is the race for the championship. Whoever wins this wins the Australian title for 1995. That's how close the points are. Geddes and Azzopardi, a 4-4 for Geddes, a 4-6 for Azzopardi. They're locked together down the quarter mile. Pick this lot. Geddes by 14 thousandths of a second. He's the Aussie champ. What a fantastically competitive bracket, and what a way to win the Australian Championship.
It's finals time for Super Street Eliminator. John Samaranch, the Bear. He has had an absolute dream run, and here he is up against the #1 in Australia, Juan Kudnik.
Well, Samaranch with a 4-4 light in the semis. He's had a very good average reaction time. Kudnik, of course, well, he is the man to beat in Super Street at any race meeting anywhere in Australia.
Both competitors moving forward into stage. Kudnik ran under his dial in the last round. Can he run on it this time?
Well, he's left the dial-in alone. That's a little bit unusual. He's normally very, very particular to adjust his dial-in around. He's got out with a 4-7 light, but Samaranch was quicker with a 4-4.
The Bear's chasing him down. Kudnik's out in front. Breakout. Kudnik breaks out by 1,000ths of a second, and the Bear wins the final of Super Street.
And he's pumped up. He's in the car. He is really keen about this one. Modified bike eliminator now. Trevor Sage it is. He's in the final up against George Dimopoulos. And Trevor Sage, he is well and truly in the figuring for the championship. Believe me, I think he may need this one to get it. It is that close.
Yeah, well, Sage dialed in with a 10.15 on this occasion. Dimopoulos a 9.80. Sage will get the advantage off the start line with Dimopoulos to do the chasing. It's going to be very close at the top end of the racetrack. A fantastic shot down the track there.
Well, this is what modified bike racing is all about. Side by side, very close, very competitive. Really coming down to this. A 4-2-1 light for Dimopoulos, a 4-9 for Sage. But looks like Sage is coming on strong.
Dimopoulos out in front, but breaks out 9.67 on a 9.80. Way too fast, and Trevor Sage gets the win.
Well, look at that. A very, very happy man. And he's got the championship as well. Super Sedan Eliminator. The championship's all over. Graham Cooper took that despite going out in the semi-final. Now it's down to the pride of winning the grand finals. David Goldie, Ian Nielsen, 2 Queenslanders.
What a rebound it's been for David Goldie in a year. He's come from absolute disaster to making the final. Super Sedan Eliminator is what we're in. 10.92 is on the back window for Goldie. A 9.93 for Nielsen. So Goldie gets the advantage off the start line.
David Goldie, he'll be pushing the tree, a 4.38. Nielsen pushed too hard, a 3.89. Nielsen red lights. A fantastic return to Eastern Creek for David Goldie. He wins the grand finals in 1996. A 10.97, 121 mile an hour in the Pacific Performance car.
Final time for Modified Eliminator, and it's John Sting and Russell Schaefer. The dragsters, we've been talking about the competitiveness between these two competitors throughout eliminations, and here they are. They've met in the final, and I believe this comes down to the championship.
Yes, it's exactly that. Either of these guys can win the championship. It's like Supergas. Whoever wins the race wins the Australian title. They are locked together on points at the moment.
John Sting, small block Schaefer motivation in the rear engine car. Russell Schaefer, it's a fuel-injected Windsor in the front of that dragster. Both guys into stage, 8.30 runs 9.76.
These drivers are demons on the light. Schaefer with a 4.20. Sting with a 4.29 reaction time. 9 thousandths difference. This should be a killer of a race.
Here comes Sting. It's going to be close. John Sting by 13 thousandths of a second.
John Sting, Australian champion for Modified Eliminator, 1995.
Competition motorcycle draws to a close with the final coming up, and it's Rhett Lockheed up against Ashley Taylor. Both of these guys are capable of running a long way under their indexes. However, I think Rhett Lockheed has knocked his round a fair bit.
Well, Lockheed's index down to a 963. It started a lot higher than that. Ashley Taylor's a 935. But like Supergas, like Modified, whoever wins this race out of these two riders becomes the Australian champion for 1995.
Plenty of anxiety, plenty of tension building up on the start line. Ashley Taylor stole the bike. This could be nerve-wracking for him. Keeps his cool. Rhett Lockheed, what a gentleman, waits for him. Has another kick and fires the bike back to life.
Well, Rhett Lockheed could have gone into stage and put the 20-second rule on Ashley Taylor, but he wants to race for the championship. He doesn't want to try and steal it. Lockheed is a sportsman.
What an absolute gentleman, and Taylor also kept his cool there. Getting psyched up, gets the head moving a little bit. Into stage, here we go.
Rev's really building. It's hard on a two-stroke. They have no torque. They can produce horsepower, but the power band very narrow. They're a hard bike to ride, as is the C Street bike. But boy, look at Ashley Taylor. He's in front. Lockheed's coming back at him. Taylor's the champion. 898, 146 mile an hour beats Lockheed's 945 at 151.
It's the final now for Super Stock Eliminator, and it's another case where the final race of the day comes down not only to the Grand Finals winner, but to the championship winner.
Well, Peter Michaels and Dave Tucker in the Pacific Performance Camaro, Peter Michaels in the Monaro from South Australia for Cartronics. The people that are the experts, they tell me, in car audio.
Well, Peter Michaels running on a 1027 index, Dave Tucker a 960. I think both of these guys are capable of going a fair way underneath that.
Well, Tucker was the #1 qualifier, Michael was the #2, so the logical, fiercest competitors have made it through to the final. Tucker, of course, has raced right around the country for the Pacific Performance team with the Camaro, chasing points in the Australian Drag Racing Series. Peter Michaels picked up points at the Adelaide Spring Nationals and then down at the Victorian Champs. That brought him into the meeting on maximum points, and he's in a good position. Red light for Tucker. Peter Michaels, well, if it wasn't over before, it is now. Peter Michaels wins the Grand Finals, wins the Australian Superstock Championship. 10:09, 132 mile an hour. Tucker wastes the 9:31 with the red light.
We swing now to the final of Competition Eliminator, and this is going to be an absolute beauty. A battle of the dragsters once again. It's Charles Van Isseldijk in the naturally aspirated car up against Debbie Reed in the supercharged dragster.
Well, there's Steve Reed, Debbie's husband, over the top of the car at the moment. Rod Marchant, crew chief. Debbie's in the car. I think they've got a problem starting this. Van Isseldijk has already got his burnout completed. Debbie Reed, look at her. She's willing the team on. I can't imagine the anguish that must be going on in her mind. #2 qualifier she is. Here's Van Isseldijk. I know that he is a gentleman like Rhett Lockheed. He won't go in if there's any chance of Debbie Reed getting fired. You can see the crew. She's asking, what's the story?
Charles waiting very patiently. They're going to find out whether this is going to be a solo pass or not. Debbie Reed still has yet to come forward to do her burnout. Looks as though they've got some real trouble starting the car.
No sign of the Reeds. There they are. There's a lot of people around it.
Batteries being charged up. Perhaps we might have an electrical problem.
They're still trying. Jim Reed, the whole crew. Now the Van Isseldijk team have decided they'll come forward. You can't wait forever. The engine gets hot. Debbie Reed says no. Looks like that's it. No, says Rod Marchant, the crew chief. And Van Isseldijk, he'll get it on a solo. The thumb goes up, and Charles Van Isseldijk, guess what? Come from the clouds, he's the Australian champion.
The winner of the Grand Finals, the 1995 Australian Competition Champion. And let's see what he's going to run on his solo pass. This will be Van Isseldijk's first full-powered pass for the day. He's been running on an index, gets to shoot out early, and still runs a 7:46 at 171 miles an hour.
Two Victorians to fight out the final of Pro Stock Motorcycle. Chasing more money in the Winfield Pro Series, Igor Krasnowski and Dennis Acklin. Krasnowski on the Kawasaki.
Both of these bikes beautifully turned out. Krasnowski with the Kawasaki, 1500 cc's on board for him. He's got a beautiful paint job on that motorcycle. Acklin on the Suzuki, 1327 cc's of Suzuki.
This should be a very, very good race. Krasnowski has been the big improver on the pro stock circuit this year, looking pretty good, but Acklin, boy, has he got some experience. He'll be hard to toss on this one.
Plenty of concentration on the eyes of these riders. The starter signalling them into stage. Bit of a staging duel in pro stock motorcycle on the limiter. Here we go, one flash and they're gone.
Oh, great start there. Krasnowski out in front. Acklin trying to stay with him. Krasnowski, 8063, 164 mile an hour. Acklin at 820.
We go to the replay. You can see the staging duel that went on. The starter, Eastern Creek starter, Bill Creeley, had to signal the guys into stage. Both of them got away beautifully, but Krasnowski had the horsepower, just pulled away from Acklin, and the bike runs through for a substantial win and a good speed as well, 164 miles an hour.
Bruce Leake in this Oldsmobile Cutlass. As I said, he was the 94 champion. He'd like to see out 95 with a win. He's lost his title, but if he can salvage the grand finals, I think he'll go home happy.
Okay, gets himself mentally set up and gets the tyres nice and sticky.
That's what it's about. Bruce Leake's been the speed merchant in pro stock. Rob Quattrocchi's won a lot of races on the start line. Leake, well, he's got the high speed, as I said. Won $2,000 from Speedflow for running the quickest speed of the year.
Yeah, so it should be a pretty even match-up, this one. Bruce Leake against Rob Quattrocchi, New South Wales, South Australia. There's been some very interesting interstate lineups over this meeting.
Well, they've come from everywhere for the Winfield Pro Finals, and these guys are at it. Boy, oh boy, watch Quattrocchi. He'll be sharp on the lights.
Last time down the strip at Eastern Creek, this time round, here we go. Leake and Quattrocchi. Racing now, Leake gets away, Quattrocchi's coming back at him. Leake's got the advantage at the moment, no. And now Quattrocchi comes at him and Leake. Oh, I'm not sure about that. I think there might have been a red light, was there?
That's what it was. There it is on the tree. Quattrocchi had a good reaction time. Leake left too soon. He's been sharp all weekend. The Oldsmobile was able to drive away, but it's all over.
And funny enough, you said watch Quattrocchi at the start, didn't you?
Well, Rob has won a lot of races on the start line that might have put pressure on Bruce Leake.
Well, a big crowd here. They've been entertained in a lot of ways. Let me tell you, Eastern Creek's turned it on. Have a look at this shot now. Ellis and Spann will come out on the bikes.
And this is something we've never seen in Australia. Two nitrous oxide assisted bikes in the final of Top Fuel Motorcycle. We normally see nitro burners.
Have a look at the vibration coming out of the machines. That's Gavin Spann, Kerry Ellis on the orange machine. Watch him light it up now. I always love the way these bikes have got to virtually fight these bikes all the way down. There's different techniques too. Some drag their feet, some tuck them up on the little pegs. They really have a style of their own.
I don't think there's any right or wrong way. It's a case of, well, you just get to the other end first. Gavin Spann said it. They're the rules.
Ellis and Spann, away they go. And again, have a look at this. Spann, see you later. Wow, they had some trouble here today.
Kerry Ellis went nowhere. Gavin Spann, 765, takes his first win in Top Fuel Motorcycle. Looks like no gears for Kerry Ellis.
Oh, you got to feel sorry for him to get that close and then blow it.
Just left him at the start. He didn't get up the line. No, I didn't know what happened to Kerry, but we've been trying to win this race for probably 10 years at least, and every time I come here, this track to me is just jinxed, and this weekend has just been excellent. I couldn't wish for anything better.
Worth the change up from pro stocks?
Oh, I think so. It's great.
Congratulations, well done.
Beauty.
Yeah, a lot of emotion there. A lot of emotion will be here too. Victor Bray, Peter Gratz now. Both of these cars, apart from the Duco, the paint jobs, I tell you what, about identical. Murray Anderson has built them. Victor Bray will take on Peter Gratz. It's the old bull against the young bull, isn't it?
Well, we had this final at the Winter Nationals a few months ago up in Willowbank, Darrell. We called it all the way through. It was one of the closest races of the meeting, and this is a rematch.
Peter Gratz now lights it up. He's from the Gold Coast. He's the new kid on the block. I guess you can say that. But this thing here, I mean, it is an amazing machine. However, both of these cars put together by Murray Anderson. And have a look at Bray. He's got to do it, hasn't he? He's got to make the biggest amount of smoke.
Well, I think with Victor, it's a case that Wild Bunch was just about invented around that man in this country, and the door slammer thing has evolved around the efforts of Victor Bray and the Castrol car, the backing he's had and the sponsors he's been able to pick up. That's made a big, big difference to him. Peter Gratz, he wants to knock off the king.
Now, Peter Gratz hasn't been around that long, but I tell you what, he's done a tremendous job with this motor car.
Well, he runs on a budget that's tiny compared to some of the teams. 18 months experience. Here he is in his second final in a row.
Gratz against Bray, 2 Chevys, and I tell you what, they are the top of the tree Chevys. And this should be amazing, and here they go, Bray. Gratz comes to Bray. Bray comes back. Gratz says no way, and I'm not sure. The winner, Peter Gratz. I don't believe that. There could have only been a coat of paint in it.
That was so close. And after such a good performance in the last round, Victor Bray was left behind. Peter Gratz did the driving job on the start line, and he left the master behind.
Unbelievable. Peter Gratz, he wasn't overawed by Victor Bray, and there it is. You can't really pick it on the line. Corey Wingard's down at the finish line.
Oh, bad luck, mate. Well, you come right up there in the last second. I didn't know who had it. It was so bloody close. Mate? Good on you, mate.
It's one up to you.
You got to call me Pete now.
I've got to call him Peter forever now. I'm not going to call him Gratzy anymore.
Fair enough. Victor, bad luck, mate. Gee, so close.
Yeah, we chased the tune up. We've got to get close on the last one. Didn't you get the times, did you?
Yes, certainly did. Victor, 6:78 for yourself, 2:04. Yeah. Peter, as we'll call him, 6:61 at 2:09.
6:60, well, there you go. That's why he won the race. No, it was a good burn, good fun. It's he's been looking like the guy to beat all weekend, and turned out it was that way, and we'll see him next time.
Well done, mate.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, champion bloke, isn't he? No doubt about that. John Noonan, he might be a champion bloke. The way he's been running too from Queensland, he takes on Steve Reed, another Queenslander. Now, what about this racing? How good has it been?
Well, it has been absolutely dynamite all the way through the grand finals. A crowd that's weathered the weather, and it's stuck with us. Boy, they've enjoyed this. Top alcohol, it'll be the same. John Noonan, Steve Reed, the Queenslanders, the funny car for Newlon for Steve Reed, and of course, John Noonan. You can't say the name without having Top Gun attached to it.
Yeah, Reed lights him up, and doesn't he do it in a big way? Noonan says, I'll match you for leaving some rubber on the track here. They've got to back him up now. I always like these matchups here. They're pretty unpredictable. And a lot of people still ask why you can have 2 totally different cars together in a final like this.
Comes down to power to weight ratio. The funny car's heavier, has a bigger engine, more horsepower. So it all evens up. And believe me, the mathematics has worked all the time. If you think about parity, Top Alcohol is the best example of it.
Yeah, it's always interesting, isn't it? Stephen Reed. I know I've mentioned Dulux a lot of times over the period of the year, but I know they've prepared so many of these cars, and they just do an amazing job. I mean, when you think of the wear and tear and the toughness of these machines and the speeds they do, they always look like $1 million.
Well, it must be 400 km/h paint, because that's what we've got in Top Alcohol. John Noonan wants his first win of the season. Steve Reed, he's lost his championship this year. That belongs to Gary Phillips. He wants to do this for Newlon.
Who do you like quickly, Noonan or Reed?
Can't pick it. Too close, too close.
I'll go Reed. Here we go. Noonan, Reed. Let's see if I can pick him. Funny car. Away we go. Out of the blocks. Noonan gets away well. Reed's come back at him. Oh, Noonan got him. What do I know? John Noonan, well done.
John Noonan, a 6:13. Steve Reed, a 6:08. Once again, it was those reaction times that Andrew Boss told us about.
Ah, fast stuff here from both drivers as they drove their way to the line. Congratulations to Johnny Noonan. Corey Wingard's down there, and I tell you what, Jono, he'll be a happy boy.
John, well done. Steve set the pace all weekend, but you've grabbed him in the grand finals, and it's yours. Congratulations.
Thanks very much. It was a tough run, and the last 5 days have been full of dramatic events, particularly when we went up the top there. And it's great to go from the sand pit into the winner's circle, I can tell you that. It's great for Top Gun.
Well done, mate, well done.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, great for racing, and all the finals have just been so good. And congratulations to Kevin Prendergast and his team here at Eastern Creek, because what should have been a 2-day meeting because of the weather foul-ups has gone like 4 days. But the entire schedule's been run. The crowds loved it. Here we go, Top Fuel final, and out they come Graham Cowan, Steve Reed.
Well, Graham Cowan's won the championship. Can he cap his year off with the Shell rocket ship with an event win here at the grand finals?
He's in the mood as he smokes them up. Oh, and Reed says, you can do it. I can go just as hard.
There's more at stake than just Winfield Pro Series points here for Steve Reed, in particular car owner Santo Rapisada. The winner of Top Fuel at the grand finals gets the Lou Rapisada Memorial Shield. And of course, Lou, a highly talented Top Fuel driver that lost his life a few years ago at Willowbank. Santo would love that shield.
And of course, Graham Cowan currently holds that shield.
That's the way it's been. So, Graham Cowan, Steve Reed, plenty riding on this.
Yeah, Graham Cowan, he's had a fantastic season. He'd really like to take this out, Shell. I mean, they've backed him. He doesn't run on the budget. People think he does. This fellow, he works very, very hard at what he does. And I tell you, he has emerged this year as the man to beat, the fastest man in Australia ever. And he would just dearly love to win here. Steve Reed, of course, he has his own eyes on the championship winner. He'd like to knock him off, and he's a big chance of doing it the way that this car's been going. All right, this should be a special matchup. The last of the Winfield races for the year of 1995. Away they go. Cowan, 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 Cowan. Oh, all fired up and just drives to the line, Graham Cowan. And that's what he's done all year. This bloke's a winner, no doubt about that.
Well, what a race. A couple of wounded race cars on that pairing, but it's Graham Cowan that's got all the gold. Look at the crew, they're wrapped.
Yeah, the crew go up, and there's a lot of happy people. They work very hard. I've been over to the workshops. I've seen the sort of work they put in. Graham Cowan comes out of the car. He's a bit concerned about the fire that's still happening there. Points down to the marshal and said, maybe we can do something about that. I don't think he'd be feeling too much pain at the moment, though. But let's have a look at the replay. Look at the power. Look at the energy.
They've left hard, flames high on both cars. Now they're starting to strike tyres. And right here we see the blower belt going from Reed's car.
And have a look at the track behind Cowan's car, the way that's gone. Right down to the line. And there's the crew. They tell the story there. And there's Karen Barwin and Greg Evans, the crew chief. They're very happy people, and why not? They've had a great season. Absolutely perfect for them. Well, that wraps up our fantastic year of championship racing, brought to you, of course, by RPS Promotions. We hope you've enjoyed it. We've certainly had a lot of fun bringing you all the action, and we look forward to doing it all again in 1996.